Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. We always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you.
To our CMR listeners, these are your news headlines for Wednesday, November 6, 2020.
Reports of downed trees.
Morning to our CMR listeners. These are your news headlines for Wednesday, November 6, 2020. We begin with a stunning political development. Donald Trump has been elected the 47th President of the United States, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris in a historic race that leaves women's hopes of breaking the nation's oldest political barrier unfulfilled, at least for now. Trump's victory, confirmed in early projections this morning, ensures that the tradition of electing a man to the nation's highest office remains intact after more than 2 centuries. In a surprising turn of events, Trump returns to the White House after a tumultuous first term, marked by 2 impeachments and a criminal conviction. His return is seen as a direct response to widespread dissatisfaction with the 4 years of Democratic leadership under President Joe Biden. With this win, Trump becomes only the 2nd president in U.S. history to secure non-consecutive terms, joining the ranks of Grover Cleveland, the 22nd and 24th president. But Trump's victory carries an added distinction. He is now the first president-elect to do so while facing felony convictions. We'll have more details on this developing story as it unfolds. Stay with us. 24.
Let's turn now to an update on what is now Hurricane Raphael. The sister islands are beginning to assess the damage this morning after Hurricane Raphael made a direct hit on Little Cayman overnight. Both islands remain without power as residents emerge from what many describe as a terrifying night. Hurricane Raphael carved a destructive path through the sister islands, with Little Cayman taking a direct hit from the storm's eye wall. However, no serious injuries have been reported at this time. The system passed just 16 miles southwest of Cayman Brac and about 86 miles northeast of Grand Cayman, bringing torrential rain and powerful winds to both sister islands. Mark Tibbetts, the Sister Islands District Commissioner, indicated that there was an extended shelter-in-place order until 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, when officials will conduct damage assessments. Little Cayman residents described the experience as painfully frightening, and there were numerous reports of downed trees, and Island Energy reported that they did their best to keep the power on for Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. However, into the evening, shortly before 7:30 p.m., they indicated that the wind speed was causing too much damage to the infrastructure for the power to be kept on safely. As soon as it's safe to do so, crews will be deployed to fix the transmission infrastructure and restore power, and updates will be provided on their social media channels.
Cayman Airways mobilized emergency flights Tuesday to strengthen storm preparations in the sister islands. The national airline coordinated with multiple government agencies to fly Cayman Islands Regiment personnel to the sister islands, where Cayman Brac and Little Cayman are expected to face the strongest impact from Raphael. Fabian Herms, Cayman Airways president and CEO, noted that this proactive mission underscores the airline's crucial role in national safety and connectivity, especially during severe weather events. The airline also assisted Customs and Border Control with an urgent transport operation from Cayman Brac to Grand Cayman, utilizing the same aircraft. These emergency operations highlight Cayman Airways' vital role in maintaining connections between our islands during severe weather events. Dangerous weather is headed for Cuba, as Tropical Storm Raphael has now intensified into a hurricane. The storm's arrival comes as the island nation is still reeling from another devastating hurricane just 2 weeks ago. We have the latest on Raphael's path, and the preparations are underway. Hurricane Raphael is gaining strength as it churns through the Caribbean, bringing more trouble to an already storm-battered region. The system intensified to Category 1 status this morning, packing winds of 75 miles per hour as it passed the Cayman Islands. The Miami-based National Hurricane Center reports Raphael is moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. The storm's projected path shows it heading straight for western Cuba, where it's expected to make landfall on Wednesday. This latest threat comes at a particularly vulnerable time for Cuba. The island is still recovering from another hurricane that claimed at least 6 lives in the eastern region just 2 weeks ago, while widespread blackouts continue to affect the population. Cuban authorities aren't taking any chances. Civil defense officials are urging residents to make immediate preparations. In Guantanamo province, emergency management has already ordered the evacuation of 37,000 people. The U.S. State Department is also responding, offering flights out for non-essential staff and American citizens. They're advising all U.S. travelers to reconsider visiting Cuba as Raphael approaches. A dramatic rescue off West Bay yesterday as emergency crews raced against time to save a paddleboarder swept miles out to sea. Multiple agencies came together to bring this story to a fortunate end. The emergency call came in around noon Sunday after the woman became separated from her companion and found herself unable to paddle back to shore. Commander James Mitchell, Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, said that time was of the essence. We immediately launched a coordinated response, including our helicopter unit, Coast Guard, and emergency services. Private vessels, including the dive boat Cayman Aggressor 4, joined police and Coast Guard units in the search. After 80 tense minutes, the RCIPS helicopter spotted the woman miles from shore. Coast Guard crews, guided by the helicopter team, reached the stranded paddleboarder and brought her safely aboard. Medical teams evaluated her on shore and remarkably found her in good condition.
Health officials in the Cayman Islands are monitoring developments after a new case of Mpox has been confirmed in the United Kingdom. Here's what local residents need to know. While the UK reports a new case of Mpox in a traveler returning from Africa, Cayman Islands health officials want to reassure residents there are no cases here. Dr. Nick Gent, Chief Medical Officer, Ministry of Health and Wellness. The ministry is closely monitoring the situation and will continue to stay vigilant regarding any new Mpox cases reported internationally. The single UK case involves the Clade 1b strain, detected in a patient who had recently visited regions where the virus remains active in local communities. Dr. Gent emphasizes while there's no immediate risk to our islands, the health ministry maintains strong preventive measures and monitoring systems. The Ministry of Health and Wellness will continue to keep the public informed of any developments.
Our bold overnight break-in at Barkham's Esso station has police investigating yet another business burglary in Grand Cayman. Security cameras captured at least 3 individuals smashing through the front glass of the Shamrock Road gas station in the early morning hours. This incident comes amid a concerning surge in overnight business burglaries across the island. After several quiet months, police report a significant spike in similar break-ins over the past 6 weeks. Barkham's management is asking anyone with information about this morning's break-in to come forward. Police continue to urge business owners to review their security measures and remain vigilant, particularly during overnight hours. The owner of a motorbike is asking for the public's help in locating the stolen motorcycle taken from West Bay early Tuesday morning. The bike, a blue and black Yamaha Cygnus 125cc with license plate 129370, was stolen just before 1 a.m. Monday from a parking lot where its owner works. Security cameras captured 2 individuals taking the motorcycle. The suspects were wearing hooded jackets which concealed their faces. The owner had parked the bike around 11 p.m. Sunday night and discovered it missing less than 2 hours later. The theft has been reported to the West Bay police station, and officers are reviewing security footage. Anyone who spots this motorcycle or has information about its whereabouts is asked to contact the West Bay police station immediately. Police remind the public not to approach any suspects. In other community alerts, a local restaurant owner is making an urgent appeal tonight after thieves made off with his delivery van from Cayman Business Park. Wayne, the owner of Food for Thought and Gateway of India restaurants, discovered his recently purchased delivery van missing from outside his business at Cayman Business Park. The vehicle, which still bears Island Taste decals on one side, was purchased just days ago from the Island Taste restaurant. The owner is offering to take the van back with no questions asked, emphasizing its importance to his business operations. Police are investigating the theft, and business owners in the area are being asked to check any security footage. Anyone with information about the van's whereabouts is urged to contact the police or the restaurant directly. The van can be identified by the Island Taste decals still visible on one side.
In an unremarkable streak of bad luck, a silver Honda CR-V was also reported stolen from the Apollo Link apartment complex in the Windsor Park area of Georgetown on Monday afternoon, between 12:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of the vehicle are asked to contact the RCIPS.
Reporting for CMR, these are your Wednesday morning headlines. And now here's Sandy Hill with the cold hard truth.
Good morning, Cayman. Rise and shine, rise and shine. How y'all doing, honey chill? Are we not incredibly fortunate to be waking up this morning, having gone through yet another storm with no injuries, no reported injuries, no loss of life. And you know what? Probably the little bit of material things that may have been damaged, you guys won't even have to put in an insurance claim for. Isn't that amazing? Don't you just want to give thanks this morning when you think about how incredibly fortunate we are? Well, that's good news. Trust and believe. Well, Hurricane Raphael, oh my gosh, renaming the storm. Hurricane Raphael is now headed for poor Cuba. Oh my gosh, those poor people. They are going to be battered by the storm, even as a Category 1, possibly a Category 2 by the time that it makes landfall. You know, Cuba has been struggling with power outages. A recent storm that also went there did some damage and devastation, I think even caused some loss of life. So, wow, we're going to have to keep them in our thoughts and our prayers. All right, I see 400 of you ready to get the show going already, honey chillin'. Thank you so much, by the way, for all of the positive feedback on the news segment. You know, we're working on it, and it's we try to make it as relevant as possible. So literally minutes before we go live, I'm up adding last bits and pieces for anything that might have developed overnight, so that you guys are getting the freshest possible and most current news first thing in the morning. So yes, so good morning to all of my beautiful people. I chuckle every time I say that. Y'all know why by now. We're all part of this. What can I say? We're all in the same basket, I suppose, somewhere or another. So the biggest news this morning, President Donald Trump taking back the presidency. I think it's a sad indictment, obviously, on the Democrats that they could lose not just the presidency, but it looks like they might be losing the other two houses as well. So there you have it. The American people have spoken. Now he becomes the second president to have a non-consecutive term. The other guy, apparently, who did that was also a very controversial man who was ironically accused back in the day of sexual misconduct also. So the parallels are not lost. And he also becomes the first convicted felon to actually serve as president of the United States. Wow. Well, I think one thing is patently clear, and I'll tell you what, it's that Americans do not want a woman to ever, not at this point in history anyway, they do not want a woman as president. They have broken every other barrier. They've broken the color barrier. They've broken the stupid barrier. Criminal barriers. So now they can elect a criminal, but they will not, under any circumstances, y'all hear me? Will not elect a woman. There you have it. What a hot mess. World's best democracy, they say. So, go on through, Donald Trump. So I am very, very anxious to see all the problems that he's going to be solving, from the economy to border control to, international conflicts. Him and Putin are good friends, so he's going to hand Ukraine to them, and he's going to deal with the Palestinians as well. So stay tuned. It's going to put on your seatbelt, honey chow. It's going to get very, very interesting. All right. Now, here's something that I saw developing last night. There's a lot of other things in the ballot, election time, what we would call like a referendum, basically, the Americans do as well. And one of the most interesting results that came in last night out of the state of Florida is recreational marijuana will not be coming to Florida after voters rejected Amendment 3. So we'll pick that up another day. But it did not pass. Marijuana is not recreational in the state of Florida. The people said, no, thank you. All right, Miss Marjorie says, I like the news. I see he gets away with it all. We're going to be talking about another man here this morning who believes that he gets away with it all, and that is none other than our own local version, McKeeva Bush. So we will certainly be discussing him as well. Ooh, wrong camera. Hold on one second, honey child. Let me just adjust that. There we go. So much better. Now you're not looking at my fat belly. How many of you own your roundness? Hold on. How many of you own that you like to eat too much food and that you don't do the things that you're supposed to do in terms of exercising and stuff? Well, I own it. Nobody can't insult me by calling me fat, honey child, because I'm like, oh, thank you. In my mind, I'm working on it though. I'm going to do better. All right. Is the camera fuzzy? Let me just try to. There we go. That looks better, I think. All right. So let's get this show on the road. So this morning, we are going to do a bit of a, not really an expose as such, but a recapping of Cayman's grandfather or father of parliament, none other than Mr. McKeeva Bush, who's now been in politics for at least 40 years. And in his 40 years of political, I don't even know what to call it, hot mess, he has had a very, very interesting run of things. Now, I'm no historian, so let me be the first to admit that I only moved back to Cayman in 1996, and there's a lot that happened surely before my time that I'm not going to know very much about, but you guys can feel free to call in and fill in the blanks about the early days. Now, I think generally speaking, from what I've heard, McKeeva got his start with Mr. Benson Ebanks, who back in the day, he was the ish of Cayman politics. Although, did Mr. Benson serve more than one term? But anyway, apparently he was the one who, took McKeeva Bush under his arms and under his wings, so to speak, and introduced him to politics. Now, the interesting thing about that is from what I've heard on the Mall Road, McKeeva Bush basically stabbed Mr. Benson in the back politically. Well, I wouldn't be surprised by that because from what I've seen in more recent times, Mr. Bush will sway with the wind. And this is why when I make the analogy that Premier Juliana O'Connor Conley and McKeeva Bush are kind of the same person politically, I don't mean in other things necessarily, but politically, they're very much two sides of the same coin. She's the female version, he's the male version. They sway with the wind and they go with whoever the winning team is for the moment. But even when they are quote unquote on the winning team, they will definitely, they will cut you off at the knees when and if it's convenient for them to do so. So there's some people who you cannot trust politically. And I think it's fair to say, I think most of you will agree that McKeeva Bush is one of those people. Now, he's had an amazing ability to fool the people of the Cayman Islands and always comes out, apparently smelling like a rose and putting himself forward as this victim of everybody and everything else. I mean, it's hard to believe that given the history that he has had, that so many of you will sit down and continue to believe story after story after story. Every single incident, this man has refused to ultimately take responsibility. So my objective this morning, first of all, I'm speaking directly to Mr. Bush. We did try to call him in the after show yesterday. He didn't answer the phone. And he's free to call into the program if he so wishes. We might give him a call if we go into a little bit of after time today as well. But I find it so incredibly shocking that this man has done all sorts of things. And we're going to probably only, scratch the surface this morning, but we're going to talk about some of those. And he still seems to have the audacity to do certain things. And what I mean by that is, I'm in the media business and listen, I'm not without my biases. The difference is I actually admit them, unlike other media who want to pretend like they don't have any biases. I will tell you guys, yeah, there's certain things that I'm biased about. And, if I don't like somebody, it's kind of hard for me to not show that. Even if I don't verbalize it, it becomes very, very difficult because y'all just look at my face. And y'all know that Auntie's face, if my lips can lie, my face cannot lie. That's why I don't waste my time trying to lie to people, because my face just says it all. Like, I don't have a poker face, right? I have a I know exactly what she's thinking kind of face. So, it is what it is. I find Mr. Bush interesting for more reasons than one. And when I say interesting, that don't take that to necessarily mean that it's a good thing, okay? So recently he decided to reach out to me. I don't really know what possesses him to do that, because if I were him, I wouldn't reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some days that I just want to be in my little corner. Like I don't want anyone saying, the things that he feels like he can say to people. I don't want you saying those things to me because I am going to respond. And I sometimes exercise a great deal of restraint, believe it or not. And I try to ignore a lot of things. And then there are other times when I simply cannot ignore belligerent, disgusting behavior. And so, over the years, Mr. Bush has tried to take certain liberties with me. And let me be clear when I say that. He'll, like what he did, he'll message me and send me a message. Sometimes he tries to placate the situation because he thinks that I'm some fool, like a lot of the people who continue to support him, and I don't see his true colors. I believe in giving people second chances. Gosh, I even believe in giving people third and fourth and fifth chances a lot of times. But what I will not do is allow the likes of McKeeva Bush to do a lot of the things that he does, in particular targeting women, and then sit back and, I guess, think that he can then message me and say whatever it is that he wants to say, and he's not going to get a response. That simply isn't going to work. Back in June, July, I think it was, he sent me a message, which I completely ignored. But to be quite frank and, put out as much as I can to have this really make some sense, I'm going to share this with you guys. I think that he was trying to somehow extend an olive branch to me, but you can't extend an olive branch to me when I know your true colors, and your true colors speak for themselves, and they have not changed, okay? So July the 9th, Tuesday, July the 9th, he sent me quite a long message. Before that, I had not heard anything from Mr. Bush since November the 10th of 2023. Back in November, he decided to send me a Bible verse, New King James Version. He says, by this I know, because, the devil loves to quote scripture, and nobody knows the Bible better than the devil. Let me be very, very clear. And some of you, I've always found it peculiar, and I see it even within my own family. Those of you who go around as Bible thumpers and quoting the Bible and singing in church and doing all this kind of stuff, you are some of the biggest devils. I know people who've never stepped foot in a church door, and yet those people have a pure heart. They're kinder people. They're more genuine people than some of you who are knocking down church door every minute of the day and night. I'm just saying, okay? So he sends a scripture back on November 10th. He said, by this I know, the scripture says, by this I know that you are well pleased with me, because my enemy does not triumph over me. Psalms 41:10, New King James Version. Then he says, God is saying I'm still in control. And it's not a surprise to me. He already has the solution lined up, the right people, the healing, the promotion, the breakthroughs for the country. And then it says a prayer for today. And then I responded to him with a Bible verse, Proverbs 26:11. We can quote Bible for Bible, sir. You're not the only one who can pick up a Bible. All right. So I returned the favor and simply said, as a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. And is an aphorism for which appears in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Y'all know what it means? All right. So McKeeva Bush is a fool because, unfortunately, he refuses to learn. And so there's something inherently wrong with someone who continues to do the things that he does. And, I guess the people of this country enables him to continually return to political office, continually to assault women and all sorts of stuff, and really and truly is not held accountable. And I'm going to talk about how we as a community have enabled this man to do what he does. So I'm not currying no favor with nobody today, right? Then in July, he responded to me. He sent me an email, WhatsApp message, my apologies. Again, it's not me having a conversation with this man. He decides to reach out. And he says, the last time I messaged you was November 2023. And since then, you've tried to destroy me with many outlandish and the worst kind of accusations, which are not true. I challenge him to tell me which of these, allegations, as he says, outlandish and outlandish and the worst kind of accusations are not true. Listen, if something isn't true and I say it and it's not my personal opinion and I'm saying it as a fact, you all know what that means. That means that you are subject to litigation. And so I invite Mr. Bush, as he then goes on to threaten in more recent times, he says, oh, I'm going to sue you. I invite you, sir, to do just that. If you are of the mindset, and I'm going to show you guys some things here this morning, but if you are of the mindset that I have defamed you, the right and proper thing for you to do is to issue a lawsuit. And let me say this. This is going to come full circle, but let me say this. Based on the cause list, McKeeva Bush has no problems getting sued and suing other people. He sued CNS back in 2011. He sued Daphne Orrit back in 2011. He has sued Desmond Seals and Cayman Net News. So he has a history of going after media. Look here, also sued Randy Marin and Hurley's Entertainment Corporation. So sued David Baines. He has no issue going after media. That's nothing new for Mr. Bush, right? So if he wants to sue me, by all means, that's what the courts are there for. I'm going to tell you in the words of somebody sent me this clip yesterday, which I thought was so appropriate. Hold on, let me see if I can actually find it. Where what's his name was being sued. He was in a deposition. Hold on one second here. This is Kanye West. And he says I borderline like being sued because it allows him to really come forward like completely straight with the truth. Now that might sound crazy. You're thinking, well, who the hell likes to be sued? But I get the point of what Kanye was saying in that moment. Because listen, you can't hide the truth for long, Let me be very, very clear. And one of the things that the court system allows to happen is the truth ultimately will come forward. Even if you lose round one, which sometimes happen, you come at it again. And I'm going to talk about that with something else that Mr. Bush said. So what was happening July the 9th, why this man decided to message me? And I've noticed that there's certain types of behavior. There's certain times when he messages me. And, sometimes you're like, oh, this is out of the blue. Why would he be messaging her on that particular day? Well, I know exactly what was going on that particular day to make him feel like he could take some liberties with me. He was in court, remember, for this rape case, which I had said from early on, once I started to hear the Crown's position on this, I said, this case is a joke. I'm not going to sit here and lambast Mr. Bush and accuse him of rape and sexual assault when the woman's story simply made zero sense at all. It didn't add up. And I didn't believe for 1 second that he actually did that. Okay? So I'm not going to accuse someone. If I don't believe it, I don't believe it. If the evidence doesn't support it, the evidence doesn't support it. At the same time, let me be very, very clear. There have been a lot of things that Mr. Bush has alleged to have done over the years that I fully believe 1,000%. So that day, July the 9th, I was at court. Let me be very, very clear. I was standing there with some of his supporters. And there are women who have supported Mr. Bush so blindly over the years, and they know who they are. I don't have to call their names. Civil servants, and I understand that it's very difficult when someone has been good to you, when someone has helped you through difficult times, say, for example, as a child, or, they've kept you in that civil service job when everybody else would have fired you behind because you're a non-performer. Yeah. I get that there's a degree of loyalty that comes with that, blinded loyalty, but there really shouldn't be. Especially with someone who continues time and time again to show who they are. There's a saying that when somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. How many times does Mr. Bush, Mac Diddy, have to show us who he is for us to actually believe that this is who the man is? Right? All of the pretending and the Bible thumping and all that sort of stuff. None of that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense because it is clearly not who this man is. So he was listening to a conversation. I was actually not talking to him or directly looking at him or anything of the sort. I'm standing here. He's sitting over here with his fake cane and roller and whatever he's walking with that day, listening to his supporters talk to me. And in the moment, because I tried to be as best I can a truth teller, I acknowledged that this case was going nowhere, that I did not believe the alleged victim in this particular case. And I said, this is stupid. The DPP should have never brought this case. So in his mind, one of his supporters said to me, well, Sandy, you have to understand that they have targeted Mr. Bush and they have come after him. What if they were doing that to you? I almost choked. I'm like, what world do y'all live in? What do you mean, what if they had done that to me? How many cases have I had now? 6, 7, 8 cases? I've actually lost count. And I do not believe for 1 second, let me be very, very clear, right? That what is happening to Mr. Bush is a deliberate targeting of him at all. Now, y'all gonna say, but Sandy, if you say they're targeting you, why wouldn't they target him? Mr. Bush is in a very different position than me. Let me be very clear. I think most police officers are afraid of Mr. Bush. They're gonna give him a bly. If he gets pulled over and he's sauced up and been drinking, he's the guy who's gonna get a walk. You think I would get a pass? Hell no. There's a difference. This is where, when they talk about politically exposed persons, this is where politicians do indeed have a lot of power. So because he heard my comments that day, he took the liberty of messaging me as though I'm one of his supporters. And he said, the last time I messaged you was November 2023. And since then, you tried to destroy me with many outlandish and the worst kind of accusations, which are not true. Even that statement isn't true. He says, since November 2023, Mr. Bush, let me remind you that I was talking the truth from when you assaulted and was convicted and admitted to assaulting this woman back in, when was that, 2019, 2020? So your memory seems a little bit short on details, okay? So this isn't anything about since November 2023. Anyway, he goes on to say, I've never built my popularity on hatred. The man can't spell to save his life. He spells that Hatrage, hatred. But in all the good I can do to all the people I can help, that's McKeeva Bush. Well, self-praise is no recommendation. He goes off to say, but I heard you tell off that monkey from the UK-led evil institution called Cayman's DPP. So you see now, there's a thing in politics that says, my friend, the friend of my enemy is my friend. So this is what he's thinking now, that me and him gonna be bosom buddies because we agree on a singular point, which is that the current DPP is ineffective and actually should be dismissed and fired from his job. That is the truth regardless. Now, because you and I share a common opinion about an individual or about a situation, that does not mean that we're going to be bosom buddies. And it also does not mean that I don't see you for who you actually are. But he thinks that I am one of those simple women who likes to, come under his arms, and church must be, and hugging him up about, oh, brother Bush, sing another church and sing another hymn in the choir. He says, I was proud that you recognize that they're persecuting and only out to take down persons like me and maybe like you too. You see, this is the ploy now, okay? I'm a victim, but oh, Sandy, you're a victim too. Let's find common ground. Because if we can find common ground, that means that you and I are cut from the same cloth. No, we're not. Okay, so I don't know what you think is going on with you in the DPP's office, but you and I are not cut from the same cloth, not at all. So the comparison is not something that's going to be winning any brownie points over here. Nonetheless, he goes on. He says, who are all well known to fight the intrusions off the UK and our way of life. Today, well, let them go ahead. I will never agree to same-sex marriages. So now he takes it up a notch. I will never agree to put in place income property tax or value-added tax, this extra tax on all things having to be purchased by my people, as though I don't know what value-added tax is. Thanks, Mr. Bush. I'm the one with the 4 degrees, but let's continue. Not their intrusions on our, nor all the evil things they want to teach our young children in school and otherwise. Not, nor out, I think he meant to say our, financial services. Never, never, never. I stand my ground, cost it what it will. Wait now on what the sweeping gains of the Labor Party will demand or poor overseas territories. That's only a few things that they wanted me to do. And I say never, never, never. So I assumed that he expected me to respond to him and go, oh, Mac Diddy. Oh, yeah, you're right. You know, we have a common enemy, the UK. All of the UKs are common enemies. So let's me and you be bosom buddies again. So I have a auto response that says, thank you for contacting Ma Road. Please follow channel. Poor thing. He's very clueless about a lot of things. He replies and says, nah, this is my personal contact with Sandy when she tries to contact me. I got the message. It's still my personal phone. I got the message. All right. Fast forward to October 25th. The day before, actually October the 23rd, we published an article about Mr. Bush, trying to start what he claims is an NPO, which in fact is a thinly veiled attempt at rebooting a political party. He's broke, right? The man is broke, and I know a lot of you find this hard to believe because he's had millions of dollars go through his fat little fingers, but he is broke, folks, because this man has no restraint. He's not a person that has restraint when it comes to alcohol, and he has no restraint when it comes to gambling, okay? He's a high roller. Somebody said to me the other day, Sandy, you know when the gambling casinos send you a private jet to pick you up, that means that you have spent a whole lot of money with them. And of course, that is the case. Morning King, joining us from the UK. So he has quite a few demons, and everybody should know by now that one of his biggest demons is gambling. This man had, what's the name of his real estate? Cambridge Realty. They got all sorts of contracts from the Ritz-Carlton back in the day, multi-million-dollar units. He's gotten, can somebody send me the document again? I know I had it the other day, but can someone send me the document of where he was demanding payment from a developer, the balance of his money? And sent it on a facsimile government fax. The man, now the brightest. I'm surprised he's gotten away for as long as he has. Saying, yeah, send me the, cabinet met today. Send me the balance of my money. Your project has been approved. All right. So a lot of money has gone through this man's hand, but unfortunately, because of his habits, he's not been able to really hold on to anything. And there's a complete lack of, what will be generational wealth for his children and grandchildren. So by all accounts, if he didn't have his MP job and double dipping in his pension, he would be, broke and probably living on the streets. So we covered this story about him changing his mind and deciding not to run for political office. Now, I told you guys, in case you missed the memo, I said, listen, this is coming, okay? There's certain things that are so incredibly predictable with MPs. And one thing that is predictable is that a lot of them are going to lie and be untruthful. When you have a 40-year history of deceiving people, lying, playing a lot of games, there is nothing that comes out of McKeeva's Bush's mouth that I'm going to believe and not take with a grain of salt. I'm sorry. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in his history, which has been long and extensive of playing games politically and being completely dishonest. So remember this?
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, Dwayne. And again, I'm not bringing this motion because I'm going to run. No, I'm not. I have, if the government not doing anything about certain things, then I want to make sure that it gets a debate out of it at least.
Yes, sir.
And I am not going to run. That I am served these many years. I think I've done a lot of good. There have been issues you would say controversial. Yes, they were. I'm talking about public issues with government stuff. I've had my share of licks. And it has come to a point where I'm saying, where's loyalty? Where's where is in honor and serving and just to serve. And they can say what they like. My opposers can say what they like, but I certainly not wealthy. Do you think that McKeeva Bush is a wealthy man? Go check the bank
We know that, honey Jam.
and see. And I know.
Yeah, we know you're not wealthy, okay, because of your gambling addiction. That there's nothing about that. So yeah, we not got to check your bank account. We know that it's probably only got 3-4 figures in it. When you get paid your little $9,000-$8,000 a month, right? And you're using that to buy votes and to drink it out and gamble it out and whatever else. So we're not confused about that. But the point here is this was November the 23rd of 2023. McKeeva Bush said on Radio Cayman and in other forums that he was no longer going to be running for political office. Pity party. Wah, wah. Looking for sympathy from people. Did I believe him on, what did I just say? It was November 23rd? No.
That they have investigated.
I didn't believe him then. And of course, now we've come full circle where we know that he fully intends to run in the next election. He believes in riding the wave. He's like the worst surfer in the world. Okay? He's going to ride the wave. So I had no confusions about or no misconceptions about the fact that he was going to be running again for political office. Only two things will happen to McKeeva Bush. He's going to die in office, right? Or the people of West Bay West are going to finally decide to remove him from political office. Last time they came this close, within 20 votes, and it didn't happen. Let me be very, very clear. He's not the type of person, part of his narcissistic personality disorder. He is not the type of person who's going to ever bow out gracefully. In fact, I remember saying to him, it's no coincidence that this was the message back in November of 2023, because at the time I said, you know, here is a man who has the opportunity to maybe try to save some of his legacy, which means that you could bow out gracefully. You could retire, right? You had an opportunity as Speaker of the House to just sit down for 4 years and behave yourself. But this man is simply not capable of that. And I recall sending him messages like that, like, McKeeva, just relax over the next 4 years and retire. And people can say, well, you know, at least in his last 4 years, you know, he did okay, and, you know, he didn't cause any trouble. And so let's take it for, you know, give him that. He retired gracefully. Not him. Not going to happen. So when he made this grand juror announcement the other day about, oh, you know, he's setting up an NPO, a new nonprofit organization, and blah, blah, blah. The point that y'all need to understand here, this isn't about that. This is about, oh, yeah, okay, I'm not going to retire after all because I'm a liar. Yep. And now I'm going to try to pretend, because he has no money, he's broke. He can't come right out and say, oh, I'm going to try for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time to do a party reboot. We've had the UDP, the CDP, and all his other coalitions over the years. So he's not prepared to come out and say, here I am again, and I'm going to start a new political party. Oh, no. He wants to fool the people of the Cayman Islands because he obviously thinks that we're stupid and that we are easily fooled. And now he's saying, oh, you know, I want to set up an NPO. Well, what the heck is all this foolishness about an NPO? You're broke and you need money to start up a new political party. Just be honest with the people. Unveil the Organization for a Better Cayman, OBC. Really? Has he registered this NPO? Because I'm very, very curious if it's actually been registered as an NPO. But this is another cheap, disgusting ploy. And for those of you who are falling for it, I saw somebody said, oh, well, you know, some of the things he's saying sound good. Y'all need to look at the man's track record and stop talking foolishness. So he claims that the mission is empowering communities through sustainable development. Joke. Have y'all seen what McKeeva's true position is on development? The words sustainable and development should not go together when you have anything to say about McKeeva Bush, because he does not believe in sustainable development. Social justice, that's a joke, and holistic well-being. Interesting. Outlines ambitious objectives ranging from economic growth to environmental protection. However, political observers note, I'm reading now from our own article, that the structure and timing of the NGO launch suggests that it could serve as a foundation for a new political movement. That's exactly what this is. It doesn't take a strategist, a political strategist to figure out this man. He's actually very, very simple. All right. So here's the funny part. I can't keep up with Mr. Bush because he tends to talk out of both sides of his mouth so consistently that even me, as much as I'm in the know and in all the sauce, I am confused. Hear what he said. This was just, folks, October the 23rd. He's dropping names, right, of people basically endorsing several sitting MPs, including Premier Wayne Panton, former Premier Wayne Panton, Chris Saunders, Kenneth Bryan, Jay Ebanks, Andre, Kathy, Dwayne Seymour, Heather Bodden, Isaac Rankin. Now, it should be no surprise if you listen to Monday's show that the one name that is notably missing from this is that of Sabrina Turner. Because apparently, I didn't even know that him and Sabrina Turner were on such bad terms with each other. And so he has been purposely lambasting her and going after her. Wow. Here's what I want y'all to be aware of, because I'm going to play a couple of video clips here today to demonstrate to you how duplicitous this man is. Lord Jesus, I love the fact that so many things are now available on the internet. You speak, you go on talk shows, those are things that are archived that we can pull a record of, just like we could show you. When this man resigned, who's calling me from Jamaica this morning? Y'all not getting, sorry, but that call can't be answered. If you're calling for the show, you know the show number, right? Let us set the record straight, because there's a couple of things that he said the other day, a couple of days ago when he was on with OC on the morning show, okay? First thing he did was not the first thing, but one of the things he did is that he lambasted Wayne Panton, and I'm confused. October 23rd, right? He has this huge press conference, I think it was the day before, talking about, he would support certain candidates, blah, blah, blah. And one of those people was Wayne Panton. So how is it that less than a week later, you could be on the radio saying this about Mr. Panton? Listen carefully.
PPM members said no. And I know. Sir Allen stayed out of it because he knew, and they knew too. They were following people. That's all. But if they had chosen McKeeva.
Now, I'm going to get to that, because what he's actually talking about is when he assaulted this woman. And I got the video, and I want us to talk a little bit about that. But he's saying that, PPM supported him, but they were getting pressure from people. Stick a pin, but I want you to listen to what he actually says about Wayne Panton. 1 week after he says that he would basically be willing to work with Mr. Panton, and he was endorsing Mr. Panton, this is what he turns around and says.
It would not have been this way today. I know that. PPM would have kept it together. Getting past that, Wayne Panton is a very rich person that didn't care about certain things, didn't care about certain people. He talks about community, but that's not what it's about. It's about what they want and the plans that the people didn't see. Personal plans. I leave that alone because I still have the opportunity now to move the sense of motion, and I will get to that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's have a look at exactly what this man is actually saying, right? So he has a problem with Wayne Panton because, he's a rich man. Sounds like a little bit of jealousy there going on, honey child. In other words, Mr. Panton, like a lot of Caymanians, have worked hard, have acquired, I guess, some degree of material wealth. But more importantly, he's not gambled it away. He's not, drank out his money. He's not spent money on prostitutes and women and trying to live a lifestyle that he could not afford. So because he's been fiscally responsible, because believe me, I am pretty sure that the same amount of money that has gone through the hands of Wayne Panton has probably, if not more, gone through the hands of McKeeva Bush. And what is the issue? Right? The issue is you're poor at managing your money. But how do you go from endorsing Mr. Bush, Mr. Panton, on around October the 23rd? And then a week later, here you are talking foolishness about, oh, well, you know, Mr. He's a problem. He's a rich man, and therefore he's a problem. I'm looking for the transcripts I need my CMR team to send me the transcripts from this, from his meeting. Anybody has the NPO meeting? Because I wanted to read to you his press conference that he had. All right, let me see if I can get my hands on the press conference, right? But I think you get the point. A week later, here he is now going after McKeeva, after Wayne Panton. What's his problem with Wayne Panton? Well, there's a lot of issues with him and Wayne Panton. And if I had to summarize it, what it comes down to is this: accountability. Wayne Panton is the only premier that has been truly willing in real time, not for political expediency, but in real time, to hold McKeeva Bush accountable for his actions. Now, you guys know, I have a long list. I'm going to put a video collage together of all of the people who got elected last time and some who didn't get elected. And I posed a question to every single one of them, coming off of the heel of what this man had done, assaulting this woman, right? Would you work with Mr. Bush? And every single one of them said no. Well, they had to swallow their vomit, in the words of politician, what's his name? David White, right? He himself said, well, we had to swallow our vomit to work with McKeeva Bush. Because remember, he was a staunch anti-McKeeva person forever, from before PPM was formed. And they had to swallow their vomit because McKeeva seems to always be the last man standing that needs to help them put a government together. Okay. Wayne Panton didn't want to work with Mr. Bush, but because of the sheer greed of the PPM, after the last election when negotiations began, the PPM was not willing to concede for a true coalition. You see, the PPM's version or definition of a coalition government is when they are in charge. So because they couldn't be in charge, because the country did not return them as a party. So why would we give you premiership? Why would we give you deputy premiership? Can you not be satisfied with a few of your members, maybe one of two of your members getting a ministerial position? No, they wanted it all. They wanted to tell all the other people on the other side of the table, no, you guys come on board with us, and it's going to be yet another PPM-led coalition. And so it didn't work out. They did their best, and they could not broker a deal. Sat right there in town at the White House trying to broker a deal with these fools, and they couldn't do it because PPM wouldn't give, they wouldn't bend. Okay? And they would have been happy to take Wayne Panton. But there's a lot of other people, nope, we're not taking Kenneth, maybe Jay, but we're definitely not taking Kenneth. We want this, we want that. Now, keep in mind that going into the election, the PPM actually said that they would not work with McKeeva Bush to form a government. The irony of it, because I want to remind you guys about something in relation to that. But let me finish this point. What is McKeeva Bush's issue with Wayne Panton? You know what the real issue is, folks? And I'm telling you this because I heard it with my own 2 ears. So this is not no hearsay. This not know somebody came and brought me a story and I don't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes Mr. Bush is having conversations with people and he don't know who's really listening. That's all I'm going to say. And I was listening. Okay. Remember before November of last year when Julie pulled her usual cutthroat move and removed Wayne Panton as premier? There were several other attempts. There was at least another serious attempt on him, maybe 3 to 4 weeks before that. So people were calling. There's a lot of players in the background, folks. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but there are a lot of players who are not politicians, but they certainly help to agitate and move things in a particular direction in this country. Phone calls were being made. Okay. Judith Sana, Heather Bodden, and Sabrina Turner. This was a Sunday. I remember it quite well. Went to the premier's house, and they were going to console him that what the PPM were trying to do with this vote of no confidence wasn't going to work. We're here to support you. We got you. Literally about 1 month before she cut his throat, Juliana O'Connor Conley was at his house. She was on the phone because I also heard her. Yes, I'm here from Mr. Panton. He has my support. Sure he did. Remember, she was deputy premier. I'm here for him. He has my support. Going to the man's house. Now you come to my yard and you knock at my door and you walk through my front door. I expect you to be a different kind of person because I don't like everybody walking through my front door. Right? You should be honest and genuine and you know what I'm saying? Not her, honey child. So they were speaking to Mr. Bush and they said, Mr. Bush, what is your position? Where do you stand? Oh, well, you know, yeah. I'm going to support Wayne, you know, because I think he's a good guy and he's better than the PPM. That's for sure. Them bastards, he's better than PPM. But you know what? I kind of not happy with him too, because he could have stopped these court cases against me and he didn't do it. Listen carefully. McKeeva Bush wanted Wayne Panton. And I don't know how he expected Wayne Panton to do this, but he wanted him to interfere with the police in the DPP's office to get charges against him dropped. Now, Wayne Panton's a lawyer and he's also no fool and he's also a person of character. Under no circumstances would he ever do that. But the fact that that expectation was there, the fact that McKeeva Bush expected this man to compromise, to break the law, because the only way he could do something like that would be to break the laws of this country. What does he expect him to do? Call the DPP's office and say, as premier of this country, we're supposed to be separate arms, and I'm telling you to stand down and to drop these charges against Mr. Bush? He wanted Wayne Panton to put his own integrity on the line for the likes of McKeeva Bush. I know McKeeva Bush must be crazy. He been drinking one too many Johnny Walkers or whatever the heck his drink of choices these days. And he's burnt up a few brain cells. I would never, as someone who has been before the court how many times, I cannot imagine placing a phone call or expecting anybody to interfere with that process. That is crazy to me. I'm always like, let's go to court. Let's get it going. Let's rock and roll. If you're an innocent person, you would not be wanting anybody to interfere with the courts on your behalf or with the police on your behalf. The other thing is, he expected Wayne Panton because, heard what he just said. He's a rich man, you know. He expected him financially to give him money to be able to hire his lawyers and put on a defense. Now, despite what y'all think, I know you're raising an eyebrow now and say, well, he gave Sabrina Turner $1 million. That was a business transaction, a loan handled with him and his attorneys and Sabrina Turner, right? When McKeeva Bush come asking you for money, you ain't getting the money back. It's not a loan. It's a gimme situation. And the man is not a bank. Well, if he's a bank, you'd have to pay it back with interest, right? So he wouldn't give him any money for his defense. And more importantly, he would not put him in a position where he could earn more money. Because you see, he took a demotion when he had to step down as Speaker of the House. Well, you can make me parliamentary secretary. At least I'll make another, $1,500 a month, blah, 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 blah. How the heck we gonna make you parliament? I'm sure this is what Wayne Panton was thinking. How the heck we gonna make you parliamentary secretary when we just told you to step down as Speaker of the House? Because of your ongoing behavior, charges all the time, every time you in a position. Can't keep your hands to yourself. Now, back it up. Because in that video from last week from On the Record, you heard McKeeva Bush singing the praises of the PPM. And he goes on to say quite a bit. Okay, hold on one second now. He, first of all, denies the assault on the woman. And we're going to talk about that. Let me pull up my transcripts, honey child. Ooh, I love these new transcript features I got round. Yeah, I can tell y'all verbatim what is going on. November the 3rd. Let me see here now, McKeeva. All right. OC says we now have in the studio with us Honorable McKeeva Bush. Honorable W. McKeeva Bush. All right, let's fast forward. Let me see what he says about the progressives. I'm going to read this to you. But basically, to summarize, oh my God, Radio Cayman has so many commercials. Oh my God. I was listening through this and the first like 20 minutes was nothing but commercials of their show. I was a little bit surprised. Anyway, let's move forward. Let me see now. Trying to skip through all the commercials, honey child. All right, so he says, traffic, Salty's Grill. Oh my God, I'm going through all the commercials. Here we go. For the record, okay, so we expect Honorable McKeeva Bush. All right. All right, so I'm going to do something here where I'm going to bring in the audio because I don't think you guys can hear it if I'm playing it in the background. But this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it as a screen share because I want you guys to hear the audio. And I think this is probably the only way that you can do it. So listen to this.
Before we went to the 8 o'clock break, we're going to have
So the idea here was for Mr. Bush to come in and to talk about what happened, why the 4 members of parliament actually resigned. So of course, you know him, he got to go from East End to West Bay, circle back around about 5 times before he tries to answer the question. But the point now that I want y'all to focus on, because he tries to give a brief history, he even mentions the late Benson Ebanks here, talking about the Dignity team won 3 seats. Let me see.
And the Dignity team won 3 seats.
That was Mr. Macfield talking about the history of it. Let me fast forward. Talking about Leonard Dilbert, the Dignity team, Benson Ebanks, Jim Barden. So now we come forward, right? So this is where he introduces Mr. Bush.
Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return,
another commercial break. Lord Jesus, that was at 52:17. Let's scroll through all the commercials. Lord, there's a lot of them. Another one. Oh, yeah. All right, so keep scrolling. Welcome to For the Record.
Well, Mr. Bush, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
I don't know. I'm not hearing through this. And I trust that.
Let me know if you're hearing now.
Oh, great, yes.
Okay, you want to turn the volume down a little bit.
So he talks about how we have a constitution in place that is better than we had before. Interesting. I wonder what part of the Constitution he thinks is better. Maybe he's in favor of the one man, one vote. I'm not too sure. He talks about his dislike of governors, generally speaking. However, he apparently likes this current governor. He actually takes a dig at Martin Roper because I believe Mr. Roper now has cancer. And he says Martin Roper was a devil and God is dealing with him. Wow. Then he talks about liking the 2 female governors, apparently, saying that this particular one has been very courteous. Like she asks you about your family if you talk to her. Really, Mr. Bush? That's what is low-key impressing you? Like, what the hell? Anyway, let's ignore all of that. So he starts talking about the 4 members have left, and it didn't have to come to that. He talking about he got past the stage about the governor, and let me move on now to the civil service. According to Mr. Bush, we have a competent and the best civil service that has ever been in so far as he is concerned. Wow, that's quite interesting. Then he talked about people going overseas who couldn't get money to study and this and that. But let me now get to this point where he says, moving to the present situation. All right, listen carefully to what he says about the PPM. And we're going to, again, demonstrate how this man, what he says from day to day changes, what his reality is from day to day changes. Listen to this.
Best the civil service has ever been, as far as I'm concerned. Moving to the present situation, you know and I know that independents, candidates unelected cannot run the country by themselves, because everybody runs on a different manifesto, for one. And so they have their own ideas, their own peeves, their own pleasures, and their own people outside who support them and they support. That do not make well for a government when there's no organization.
Got to have that discipline.
You got to have the discipline. Let's look at it. Me and the PPM was what? I formed one party. PPM said, no, that we don't want no party. We can form a movement. Same doggone thing, right? But look at it. 2017, Sir Alden was man enough to come to me and said, let's work together. We will make you speaker or what? I said, I don't want anything else. I'll be speaker. And we worked together good. But the large, I know that PPM, they don't support me, but the larger majority did and accepted what Sir Alden had to do, the arrangement, right? And it worked because the PPM had their structure in place, right? Comes 2021, there were people because, of course, I was wrongly accused that I beat up somebody when the video shows two women beating McKeeva for $180,000 that Caymanians didn't get, and that Cubans didn't get, and that Hondurans and Santo Domingans didn't get. $180,000. They called on me to come and settle it. I was the elected member, they knew. And I went there and I was not welcome. I was never welcome. But my son was part owner of the business.
Oh, my apologies. I had my mic off. Let me see now. Uh-oh, did I get cut off the radio, honey child? Yes, I'm trying to hold on one second. I'm actually trying to tell me if I'm still on radio, because otherwise I have to restart. Thank you so much, caller.
Okay, hon.
All right, are we good on radio? My apologies, I was just yakking. But what I was saying is, in relation to the PPM, McKeeva Bush seems to have amnesia, and he has conveniently forgotten that, one of the interesting things is after the last election, the PPM actually refused to work with him because the tide of the election basically was that nobody wanted to work with Mr. Bush if they could help it, right? Hashtag she is supported too. Uh-oh. All right. So why is it now that this past week he is on, for the record, having convenient amnesia and completely forgetting the fact that the PPM to this day claim that they don't want to work with Mr. Bush? Well, hold on one second. I can see we're not on radio. Give me 1 second. Let me get the radio to kick back in. 1 second. All right, right, folks. Thank you to our radio listeners. My apologies. I had my microphone muted. So I was saying that on the record last week, for the record, or what was it called for the record? Last week, McKeeva Bush was all of a sudden back in love with PPM. I'm not sure what behind the scene discussions they're having to have made this transpired, but it's very, very interesting. Because he talks about the fact that, you know, he thinks that the PPM would have kept it together as a party. He says, you know, that they would probably work with him again, basically singing their praises. This is what he said. Listen very carefully. He said, I can get, hear this. He says, I can get past that. Hold on.
I got tired with it because I confess, I grabbed her to grab my phone, which got mashed up.
Mm-hmm.
I got the worst of it. God knows best in these things. I get past that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When the 21 comes, I get selected again. PPM members said no. And I know. Sir Alan stayed out of it because he knew, and they knew too. They were following people. That's all. But if they had chosen McKeeva, it would not have been this way today. I know that. PPM would have kept it together. Getting past that, Veen Panan is a very rich person that didn't care about certain things, didn't care about certain people. He talks about community, but that's not what it's about. It's about what they want and the plans that the people didn't see. Personal plans. I leave that alone because I still have the opportunity now.
Well, I tell you what, I, for one, don't want Mr. Bush to leave it alone. I want to know what personal plans he's talking about. You see, this is now where the NCC and the whole issue with the environment comes into play, right? Wayne Panton does not have to sell the country and sell the environment down the proverbial river to make money and to be in bed with developers, right? He doesn't have to go to developers or anybody else in this country to beg them money to try and hire a lawyer to deal with his affairs. So that's the crux of why all of a sudden Wayne Panton's financial position is now an issue for McKeeva Bush. It certainly was an issue for Mr. Bush when he was begging money from him. Now, he's back in bed. It seems like he's in love again with the PPM. The same PPM who, since the last election, have refused to work with McKeeva Bush. Going into the election, they said, if we're elected, if we're returned to office, we won't work with him. Now, of course, let me be very, very clear. The PPM not no better than McKeeva Bush when it comes to talking out of both sides of their mouths. They sat there for well over a year. Female elected members, male elected members, and they said nothing about Mr. Bush physically assaulting and beating up a woman. Now, his current version of what happened is very different than what actually transpired. But I want to back it up for a minute. Remember this moment when Alden refused, right? Refused to hold McKeeva Bush accountable. Listen carefully.
To the Premier and the Minister, seeing as I will probably won't get another opportunity. This morning, the Speaker was convicted and he was handed a 60-day suspended sentence, among other things. Do you have any plans in Parliament to pass to present a vote of no confidence in the Speaker, or are you content to let him sit in his position?
Well, this is news to me. I haven't been apprised of that. Obviously, the government will have to take time to consider the matter, but what I will say about that is that there may or may not be another meeting of the House before the House is this matter. But what I will say about...
I just want to pause it there for a second, because those of you who are familiar with the world of body language, I want you to pay attention to this micro movement by then Premier of the country, Sir Alden McLaughlin. You see how he takes his hand, he kind of scratches kind of underneath his bottom lip there, right? His right hand, he kind of scratches. This is when you know that the man is lying, eh? I mean, let's be very, very clear. He wants us to believe that at a press conference on December 21st, 2020, McKeeva Bush was sentenced that day, and that he, as a leader of this country, would not have heard that the man who had pled guilty was sentenced to, he actually has a conviction now on his record. He's sitting there at this press conference that happened, I think it was early in the afternoon, right? There's Wendy Ledger questioning him about it. And he wants to pretend like, oh, well, I don't know anything about it. But you see how his body gives him away when he starts scratching by his lip? That's because he's lying. Like I said, that's why I don't bother lying, because your body will demonstrate. Yes, Damien says, look at how he shifts and his eyes look down. Just look at the man's actions. Don't listen to his words for a second, but look at his actions, and you will see that the actions and words don't add up. Look.
Well, this is news to me. I haven't been apprised
really.
of that. Obviously, the government will have to take time to consider the matter. But what I will say about that is that there may or may not be another meeting of the House before the House is dissolved in March. I am not sure that the country would be well served now by my taking action which precipitates the collapse of the government and the holding of early elections. So we have to bear that in mind.
Thank you.
All right. So let's be very, very clear about what Alden said. He said, basically, in layman's terms, we're not going to remove Mr. Bush, although he was convicted and sentenced and he now has a criminal record as of this morning. We are not going to remove him from public office because that is something that does not serve us well. That does not serve us politically. So he's going to stay right where he is. Now, you guys know what happened with that. Arden McLean came forward. Ezra Miller came forward. They said, this is ridiculous. How can you keep a convicted person as Speaker of the House? What foolishness is this? And they were going to call a vote of no confidence against the PPM. And instead of having that happen, they ran to the governor at the time, Mr. Roper, and called an early election. That is why we had an early election last time. Do not forget the facts. They basically were willing to dissolve the government, go to the polls, and try their luck, as opposed to actually holding McKeeva Bush responsible. Another reason why, right? Mr. Bush has a problem with Wayne Panton is he is the only member, only leader that has held Mr. Bush accountable at any given time for his actions. We have letters. We have Mr. Panton, my apologies, saying to McKeeva, you have got to resign as Speaker of the House again under the Pat government. And to be clear, this is the only time that McKeeva Bush has resigned from a position and did not get anything in the process. That was a win. Because the truth of the matter is, I'm going to pull up this document here. Let me see if I can show you all this document. The truth of the matter is that, the truth of the matter is that one thing with McKeeva Bush is if he's going to leave, he always wants to leave with his palms being greased. Matt Diddy, lather him up with some serious baby oil because that's exactly what he wants. Okay? Now, PPM playing the game as they often do. So remember this press release back in October of 2022? Statement from the Honorable Roy Bodden, leader of the opposition. Speaker Bush again promises to resign. So this is when they were like, he's being accused of other stuff again. This is after the whole fiasco now with the Ritz-Carlton situation. Now they're putting pressure. Now they're not doing this because they give any cahoots about the victims that he allegedly had assaulted or anything like that. That's not what this is about. Folks, this is about one thing. We want control back. We know McKeeva Bush is keeping Pat government. He's one of the people that's keeping Pat government together. So in order to destabilize the Pat government, we're going to make an issue of this. Now, listen, I agree with them 1,000%. He should have stepped down. I have no qualms or no issues with that whatsoever. Make him step down. Absolutely. But the reason that they were asking for it to be done has nothing to do with we're doing it for the country, as they claim, for the people, for the country. No, this is all about another political play. All right. Hear how he makes mention, again, confirm that the motion of a lack of no confidence in Speaker complies in every material respect with the standing orders of Parliament. So they were trying to, at that time, October 2022, right, to pull the PAC government down. Now, we're going to get to the sentencing ruling here in a second. Office of the Premier. This is Wayne Panton. Ahead of this, almost some 2-3 weeks before October the 15th, penning a letter from the Office of the Premier with his signature asking the Honorable McKeeva Bush, OBE, JP, MP, to step down as Speaker of the House. And you see what he says in this correspondence, right? He says, in light of, let me just open it up fully so I can see it as well. Hold on one second. Yes. In light of the unfortunate incidents at the cocktail reception held on Tuesday evening, last at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, and considering your history of similar incidents in respect of some which you have existing convictions and an outstanding suspended sentence, this makes these latest incidents wholly intolerable. And the letter goes on, and he's asking him to step down, to resign. Keep this in mind. Wayne Panton was the only person who got McKeeva Bush to commit to code of conduct in his 40 years of elected office. He signed that document, right? So ran afoul of that. He makes mention of the Constitution, right? He was holding him accountable. You're going to donate money, which I'm sure he never did. You're going to do it because they refused to take his dirty money. You're going to donate money to the crisis center. Like, he was trying to put certain things in place to still try to control McKeeva Bush. Nobody else has ever been prepared to do that. When they know the type of person historically that McKeeva Bush has been, they put no parameters in place. Even this current government, as we sit here today, the UPM government, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Conley has taken McKeeva Bush under her wing as a parliamentary secretary, given him a position again. And y'all heard what Sabrina Turner said. Sitting there in caucus, making this man, Sabrina Turner said, he is premier. He's acting like premier of this country. He is running the show. And no one has put any perimeters in place. No one, absolutely no one, is willing to hold this man accountable. And the only person who did it and tried was Wayne Panton. So I'm not surprised that McKeeva has an axe to grind with Wayne Panton. Wouldn't give you money for your lawyers. Wouldn't give you a position after you got removed as Speaker of the House. Trying to hold you accountable for your ongoing egregious behavior, told you you had to resign, issued a letter days after the incident happened. What did the PPM did when he assaulted that woman? They stayed silent for the longest time. They said nothing. They did nothing. It was only after we started calling them out in this program, especially the women, Juliana O'Connor Conley, Barbara Conley, which other women we had up in the Legislative Assembly at the time, saying, how can you as women know that this man has dragged a woman by her hair and beat her in a public place for all intents and purposes? And I'm going to talk now about that case because McKeeva Bush is a liar. And I will not sit here as a member of the media and allow this man to rewrite history in this country, which is exactly what he is trying to do. Let us be very, very clear. Hear what he said. He now denies assaulting this woman and claims that he only pled guilty because, he was taking the fall for it. And he makes mention of $180,000. Now, a lot of you are sitting there going, Sandy, what's $180,000 for Cubans and Hondurans and this and that? Listen to what he says, and I'm going to tell you what he's talking about.
The one there were and Santo Domingos didn't get.
Hold on.
And that Cubans didn't get $80,000 that Caymanians for $180,000 shows two women beating McKeeva. For $180,000 that Caymanians didn't get, and that Cubans didn't get, And that Hondurans and Santo Domingos didn't get $180,000. They called on me to come and settle it. I was the elected member, they knew. And I went there and I was not welcome. I was never welcome. But my son was part owner of the business. So I had a right. And so I got tired with it because I confessed. I grabbed her to grab my phone, which got mashed up. I got the worst of it. God knows best in these things. I get past that.
Yeah.
When the 21 comes,
All right, so let's stop right there because he's a revisionist, right? He's going to rewrite history now when it comes to what actually happened with the assault on this woman. And this is one thing that is someone who, and I tell you, the day of the sentencing, I was the only person who was there. I think Wendy Ledger was like late or something, so she really missed it. I was the only member of the media that was there, and I sat there and I listened intently. I have the sentencing judgment now in front of me. What I will not do is allow McKeeva Bush to continue to discredit victims of abuse in this country at the hands of politicians and anybody else. You're not going to discredit the victims. You're not going to make victims feel like they're the ones who have done something wrong. And so your attempts to rewrite history in this regard, I'm going to address here this morning as well. And quite frankly, set the record straight. Okay? McKeeva Bush assaulted the woman. In fact, CMR broke the story on the night of the incident, okay? I was at home, as I usually am, trying to mind my own business, but y'all know how well that works out for me. And I got a phone call from a particular MP. I'm not going to tell you who that person is. And they said, Sandy, something just went down with McKeeva Bush beating up some woman at, Royal Palms. I forget what the exact name of the place is, right? You notice in there that he makes mention of his son being an owner in the business. So I think it was his son, Kenneth Rankin, and somebody else. Another came on in with a couple dollars, right? Coral Beach. Thank you so much, Damien. Okay. So he talks about the reason why he was there that night is to try to confront this woman because she supposedly, this is one of the excuses he started almost right away, that she supposedly stole $180,000 in tips and whatever from the staff. Now, listen to me, okay? Your son is a part owner in Coral, what's it called? Coral Beach. Yeah? And he has a manager there who's supposedly stealing money, right, from staff. And you want us to believe, let me try to understand this now. You want us to believe that your son, who owns the company, could not have done anything about this situation? Stole 180. Gene Thompson was an owner as well. I can't even remember. But enough people was up in this hot mess of a situation. That your son, as an owner, couldn't deal with an employee stealing from people, supposedly. Now, this woman has never even had an investigation launched into this. This entire story has been fabricated to try to give this man a defense. But let me try to understand what his position is, right? Somebody steals from you. Let's say that that's true. Someone steals from not even you, but your Cuban workers, Honduran workers, and Caymanians, he says, okay? The thing that you do is go and beat them up as opposed to calling the police, having them arrested, having them go through the court system, et cetera, et cetera. What? As usual, McKeeva Bush was drunk as a skunk, could barely stand up. The pictures were there to demonstrate how belligerent and drunk he was. And I'm going to tell you why he now believes that he can bring a stupid defense to the people of this country. It's so funny. Because as it turns out, let me try and get the picture here. I'm going to show y'all. The Compass, who I don't know what their end game was when they decided to publish the video, but the way in which they did it was the worst possible thing that they could have done for the victim. This is where maybe good intentions. I mean, like I said, I can't speak to their intentions. I don't know. But let's assume and give them the benefit of the doubt that they had good intentions. The delivery of it was completely wrong. And it actually now has bolstered Mr. Bush into thinking that he has a defense. See him here at the night in question? He went to multiple establishments that night. By the time he got to Coral Beach, he was well sauced up, aka drunk as a skunk. Huh? See him, yeah? Look at his face. Mouth hang open, eyes glossed over, can barely stand up. The man is drunk. So, on February the 21st of 2020, CMR broke the story that a long-serving member of the Legislative Assembly assaulted a bar manager at Coral Beach on West Bay Road right before 11 p.m. Here's a joke about this, right? Mr. Bush now has all kind of revisionary history. This woman did not even want to press charges against Mr. Bush. She left that night thinking, maybe we could make this go away. And if my memory serves me correctly, the police actually reached out to her because so many people had witnessed it. And I guess once the impact of everything started to settle with her, and if you've ever been a victim of abuse or assault, especially when somebody catches you off guard, you will understand that sometimes in the moment you can't even process what has just happened to you. And it might take a couple days. So God knows for some people it takes years for them to process what happened. Okay? So this dragged on into December when he is finally convicted and sentenced. And the whole time, the Progressive government did nothing about it. All right? The Crisis Center issued a statement saying that, this is a tipping point for Cayman and gender-based violence. I guess they were finally hoping that we would have our hashtag she supported, hashtag Me Too movement. It went on for months. Very few people spoke out. Wayne Panton spoke out. Ozzy Bodden spoke out. Women in this country tried to speak out and had a rally. Now, if you all know anything about McKeeva Bush, this is certainly not the first time that he has allegedly put his hands on women. There's numerous stories about him doing so, even within his own home, with people close to him. Putting his hands on women in a sexual way, in a violent way, in a physical way. This man has gotten away with far too much. You hear the stories. And this is why when I tell this man, don't you send me another message, McKeeva Bush, because you and I are not friends. We're not companions. You try to create common ground between you and I. There is no common ground. Okay? Respect is earned. It's not given. I've tried to give you the benefit of that, but you've proven time and time again that you're not even worthy of that. So don't message me. All right? I have a job to do. And you might not like it. You might not like me putting the truth in the public domain about you and reminding the people of this country of the monster that you truly are. But the truth has a way of setting you free. And you should try it on for measure. Instead of using your poor dead daughter as an excuse, using your poor dead mother as an excuse, you should take accountability as a man who is plagued with a lot of demons and has a lot of problems. All right? He admitted, he apologized, in fact, to his victim. So how this man can sit down now and talk about how, he was wrongly accused and he just pled guilty to kind of make it go away and blah, blah this and blah, blah that. Really? That's not the case at all. And in fact, in your own words, that is not the case. He issued an apology about how he has a problem, sort of, because he's mourning the death of a daughter that died so long ago. And yes, he's going to go into counseling and he's going to get help for alcoholism and all kind of stuff. He's been self-medicating. Now in 2024, this man has the audacity to get on for the record and claim that 2 women beat him up. No. I cannot sit here in good conscience, folks, and allow any of you to believe this fake narrative that he has created. But here's what has happened. When the Compass released the video, right, they did a real disservice to the victim and, in fact, the entire case. Because they released it with no audio and no narrative of what actually transpired. So, sometimes you can look at something in isolation, even a video or pictures, and you get the wrong story. And that's exactly what happened. You all saw part of it without the full context of understanding the full facts of what transpired on that night. And you see her trying to help him, but trying to pull him up. And then the eyes of some of you, because I heard your comments at the time, well, she looked like she was pushing Mr. Bush down. And, I think she might have been trying to assault him. And that is now what he has built on. He's created this false narrative. He's built on the few people in the community talking that have created doubt about whether or not he really assaulted this woman. That's why he can sit on national radio now and lie through his dirty little teeth that 2 women assaulted him. Do you see the size of McKeeva Bush? Let's consider February 22nd, 2020, right? We see McKeeva Bush coming out of a vehicle, and he is so drunk he can't even walk in a straight line. Look at how this man is tumbling and practically falling over all over the place. 7:32 p.m. he already saw stop, because remember, now he started over at Peppers. So his excuse now is, he won't confront and talk to her about $180,000 worth of missing money. So you go out for a night drinking and whatever, and this is the time you want to talk to someone at 7:32 p.m. on a Friday or Saturday night? That's not how you deal with HR matters. This man has been leader of government business. He's been premier of this country. You mean to tell me that if there are allegations against an individual, he doesn't know that there's a time and a place and a way in which you address it? And first of all, you're not even the appropriate person to address it, because your son on paper is the one who's supposed to be part owner of the business. Now, I get it. You gave him the money. So maybe you think you're really the owner of the business. I don't know. So you come in now, drunk as a skunk. Look at him. Can't walk, Look at him. Look. I mean, he little bow-legged, but look at him. All over the place. What is that in his hand? He threw something in the butcher's. That's probably another Jimmy Walker, what his name is, Johnny Walker, whatever. Something that was in the hand. Looks like a bottle, yes. And it gets thrown in the bushes, littering too. Yeah, that looked like him. So, no, he didn't throw it down, man. It's still in the hand. So there he is, holding on to a passing vehicle. This is a blow by blow now. So here he is, holding on to a passing vehicle because the man is drunk. He can't even stand up. He can't even walk. Right? Approaching the bar and restaurant. Look there. Oh my God, how drunk you gotta be that you gotta hold on to a car to get a couple feet to the front door? And it looks like at that point he was actually holding on to the car door. And I don't know if he was trying to open it, but he held on to it for a little bit longer than is normal. See it? Look. See? It's almost like the hand got stuck. The brain confused, trying to help him walk, and the hand got stuck at the same time. See? Holding on to the vehicle. The narrative here is he appears to rest on the truck before disappearing from the frame. Yeah, because you're drunk. He can't even walk much further. Okay? Now, kind of musters up a little bit of ability to walk further. All right, we're trying to reach to the door. This has been the longest walk. This is like when Moses was parting the sea, honey child. The longest walk of his people. Then we go to 7:54. Right? So there are parts of it that are missing. The camera's clock is 7:54. Bush and the victim are seen as Bush falls to the ground. So this now is where y'all like, I think she might have pushed him down, So there he is. There she is. They fall to the ground. She was not assaulting McKeeva Bush. They have eyewitness testimony. The woman was actually trying to help him. She made countless phone calls throughout the night, trying to get his handlers to come for Mr. Bush. Now, how is this woman going to know? And I'm going to get to the statement here in a second. How is it that she is going to know who to call to get help for Mr. Bush? Y'all ever wondered that? Those of you who talking about, oh, yeah, she was assaulting him. You know how she know? Because this is not the first time. This is not the first time this man has showed up drunk as a skunk and decided to act belligerent and get crazy. He has done it before. So she had his handlers on speed dial, That's how she knew who to call. Richard Parchment. Calling. I don't know where Richard was that night, but he wasn't answering his phone. And she's trying to help him to leave the facility before things got bad. But given his weight and his size, it was a little bit difficult for her to control him. So when he fell down in the bushes and tumbling, she fell with him, and he was also grabbing and pulling at her hair at the same time. Now he claims he was trying to get his phone back. Continue to watch. Can't make this foolishness up. So here she is getting up and is actually trying to help him get up. Saying, come on, let's go. Let's get you out of here. Don't continue to embarrass yourself. Come on, Mr. Bush. I'll help you up. Same time he's fighting off and pulling her hair. And she is trying, you can see the motion of her legs. She is trying to pull him up. She's not trying to assault him. If she was trying to assault him, given his size and her size, you think that she would have been there trying to assault him with her hands? The best way for her to assault him, if she was really trying to do it, would be to kick the you-know-what out of him. This is not a stance or a posture of someone who is trying to assault anybody. Look carefully. She's trying to get him to release her hair, and at the same time says, come on, get out of here. Here comes another person. These people have provided witness statements to the police to put it all in context. You see people in the background? You see all those people moving in the top right-hand corner? You see this person who goes around to the other side of the umbrellas, and it looks like they have a phone in their hand, and they actually have the light on the phone. Now, I don't know if they were recording or they just had their phone light on. She finally got free of him. Look at what she does. Look at the motion. She puts her head in her hand and she starts to put her hair back because she has very long hair, and this man was pulling on her hair. Now, Lord Jesus, I've never had anybody pull on my hair in a violent way. You know, sometimes you have a little bit of fun and somebody kind of tugs on your hair. That's a very different situation. I can't imagine someone pulling and assaulting me and pulling on my hair. You know, my scalp is sensitive, honey child. And the longer the hair, the worse it is. So here she is trying to sort out her long hair, and I guess trying to put it up and put it out of the way because she's like, oh my God, this man. And there he is, still tumbling, can't get up, crawling on the floor, trying to get to his knees. And there he finally gets up to his knees. All right. So now he claims that she took his phone and he was trying to get his phone back. Keep watching. There he goes, stumbling again. Now here she comes out again. Mr. Bush, you know, let me help you. Let's get out of here. Does this look like somebody who's assaulting anybody? Look at how she even kind of like is a bit standoffish. Like she doesn't get too close. She's trying to talk to him, so she moves the torso forward a little bit, trying to talk to him, but she still seems at this point to be trying to keep a respectable distance because she doesn't want him beat her up again. See, she's on the phone again. Richard Parchment, please answer your phone. She's calling. See her on the phone calling somebody? And he's trying to hold on for dear life onto the umbrellas because once again, drunk as a skunk. Okay. There he is. There's the other person. And I think this other person was actually recording it, and it's such a shame that we don't have that recording to put full context to this one. All right, there he goes, stumbling, holding on to the truck. All right, leaning up against the truck, and she's on the phone. Please, please come for Mr. Bush. I can't take this. And then here he comes towards her. All right. Morning, caller.
Morning, Sandra.
Are we doing a blow by blow this morning, honey chill?
Well, here's the thing. It's been a while since I've seen the video, but from what I can remember, this video is not complete. There was footage of McKeeva Bush in the actual restaurant.
Oh no, we get into that. We get into the kitchen. That coming up next. It's on here. But I'm pointing out some details because I want to make it clear. If she was assaulting him, as some people wanted to believe at this early stage with umbrellas, even notice now, he walks up to her and starts having a conversation with her. None of that adds up to his current narrative of he was the victim and he was assaulted by two women. Which two women?
Of course not.
Continue to listen.
Of course not.
Thank you, my dear.
All right.
That bit coming up, don't worry. Because that is the most shocking part of this assault that we have, to be quite honest. So see, now he lets go of the truck. He seems to be having some sort of a conversation with her, right? Kind of approaches her. We see some movement there. It almost appears that the body language from his perspective is like kind of friendly-ish. Then he walks away. He walks over to the car. He's kind of pointing at her a little bit. She's pointing like, saying maybe go, leave, get out. He kind of starts to walk as though he's leaving. So he goes back by the truck. Now she's walking behind him. As a manager, she just wants him to get off the property. But look at what she does. She gets on the phone again. She's frantically trying to get help. See, she's trying to make another phone call. Now look, he picks up something and throws at her. This man had 4 assault charges, and one of them included when he threw this table or chair, I can't remember exactly what it was, at her. Look at this. Right? The court said it was unprovoked. How he can take something now and throw it at the woman, if she had to put up her hand in order to deflect it, her hand got bruised, and now you can see she's starting to lose her ish. But she's still backing up for him. Now he threw something else at her again. This sounds like somebody who was assaulted, supposedly by 2 women, he claims. Now we get to the back kitchen. Right? So every one of those incidences, he was charged with a separate assault. So when he threw those things at her, that was a separate charge of assault. All right? Now we're in the kitchen. So I can't believe how wet this floor is in the kitchen. So here he comes. He still wants us to believe that somebody trying to assault him. You see him doing his hand like this, holding on, because of course he's still drunk, holding on to something to steady himself, flaying his hand and like pointing at her, holding on to the dish pan. And then he starts walking in the kitchen, walking in the wet water, and she walks behind him. And you see, yes, this other woman is actually recording it. I would love to get that recording from this other worker. So she has been recording for quite some time. And here they are. Now McKeeva starts to come at the woman and she's on the phone again, and he backs up and he tries to grab her phone from him. Now he claims that it was his phone that he was trying to get back. You heard what he just told OC. Oh, I was trying to get my phone from her. Really? So she had your phone all this time making all these phone calls on your phone? Come on now. So we see her backing up. And she's trying to make a phone call. He doesn't want her to make this phone call. He goes now to grab the phone out of her hands. And this is when he starts to grab her and throw her around like a rag doll in the kitchen. I can tell you one thing. You guys might not understand the dangers of this. But one lick against one of those stainless steel appliances and this woman would have been dead. You hear me? One good lick of her head against any of those sinks in this kitchen, or she could have slipped and fell on that wet water and hit the back of her head, and she could be dead, and his charges would have been a lot different. But he can sit here today in front of the people of this country. Praise the Lord, it's almost 9:30. So I can stop being polite for the radio. Off reg, don't listen after 9:30. Y'all can imagine. The lies that this man can take. Look at how he grabs her. And now finally the other workers who had stood by for the most part and done nothing, 4 of them come to try to pull this woman away from him. And this is a man who has the audacity to go on Oric Connor's show For the Record and then talk about she assaulted him. Look at this man. Are y'all for real? Huh? This is who y'all continue to elect to political office in this country. We have video footage of this. Y'all have no self-respect for yourselves when you elect people like this. There's no question here of what actually happened. And now he sits before the people of Cayman Islands radio listeners. Tune in if you want to continue listening. Thank God I can get rid of that this morning. Yeah. And he wants to have us believe now that all of this was him trying to defend himself. Wow. I mean, that's so crazy. That is really next level crazy. Now, when we were in court, here he is now finally being escorted off the property. Yeah, still trying to go back, you know. Still trying to go back, and they're still like, Mr. Bush, you got to get the hell out of here. People taking the garbage out, these workers, they're like, shit, we just trying to get our work done. Dude, just leave. We want to leave here tonight. Finally being escorted directly to the vehicle that he came in. Okay? There he goes. Now, put this in context with what Mr. Bush admitted to. You see? He didn't just admitted to, assaulting her or pushing her down. The sentencing ruling from December the 21st, 2020 is very, very clear. He pled guilty to 2 counts of common assault, 1 count of disorderly conduct on a licensed premise, and the 3rd count, he was trying to maintain his not guilty plea. So he's trying to say, oh, well, that was the more serious one. The judge said, hold on a second now. You told the court that you were going to be pleading guilty today. And now you show up with Mr. Alberga in tow saying, well, I want to plead guilty to 2 and not guilty to 1. That's a very different situation. We're going to have what's called a Newton hearing. And a Newton hearing means that we're going to call witnesses, right? All the witnesses that were there that night, we will call the victim. And when Alberga heard that and he spoke to Mr. Bush, he was like, no. Don't do it. We don't want to hear it. No, don't do that. Because the worst thing he could have done was put that woman on the stand and all the other people who would have supported what actually happened that night. So the video shows certain aspects. So this is what he tried to do. This is point number 2 of the ruling. Let's have a look here now. I know it's kind of hard to see this. Hold on. Let me see if I can. That's probably as large as it's going to get. So let me just read it to you. Okay. It is necessary to set out some procedural background in order to put the sentencing process in context. The Crown has indicated that the pleas are tendered would be acceptable if the defendant agrees to be sentenced on the full facts as alleged by the complainant. Ms. Alberga, on behalf of the defendant, explained that his client has no recollection. Hear him now, All of a sudden, he can tell OC what happened, but at the time, he claims he has no recollection of the events of that evening. That's because he was fucking drunk. And his guilty plea is accepting those criminal acts which were captured by CCTV. Okay? Funny how he claims in his own defense at the time he had no recollection. Now he's trying to say that 2 women assaulted him and all he was trying to do was get his phone back. Well, which story is it, Mr. Bush? Is it what you told your lawyer to say in court then? Or is it your made-up story now? He further explained that while count 1 was denied because the event was not evident from the CCTV, the defendant could not positively say, listen carefully, he could not positively say that he did not commit, he could not positively say that he did not commit the acts particularized in count 1. So in other words, what he was saying is, I don't remember, it wasn't caught on CCTV, so I feel like I should plead not guilty to that, but I can't say that I didn't do it. That's what he's saying. Mr. Alberga invited me, this is what the judge says now, 11-page judgment. to review the CCTV, and if I was satisfied that the assault took place in the manner described by the complainant, that I should proceed on that basis. In essence, he was suggesting a Newton hearing using only the CCTV. And you see, you can't use just the CCTV. That is the problem. When the Compass released just the CCTV and not put the whole thing in context, that is where it becomes a problem. So Mr. Moran, who was representing the DPP's office at the time, quite rightly opposed such a course, as the Crown is entitled to adduce any relevant evidence speaking to the issue to be determined. In this case, Mr. Moran would have wished for the complainant to give evidence. When pressed about whether Newton hearing was necessary, Ms. Alberga accepted that the defendant should be sentenced on the basis of facts as alleged by the Crown, which included the particulars of count 1. The court will therefore sentence on the full facts as set out by the Crown, although count 1 is left on file. On several occasions, during his submissions, Mr. Alberga implied that the victim unlawfully assaulted the defendant, but he eventually withdrew that suggestion. The full facts. Proceeding on the basis of full facts, they are as follows. The defendant is a well-known and long-serving political figure and Speaker of the House of Parliament of the Cayman Islands. He is also the father of the co-owner of Coral Beach and Bar and Restaurant. On the evening of the 21st of February 2020, the defendant attended Coral Beach where he consumed several alcoholic beverages. You see, we don't see all of that on camera. The defendant briefly left the establishment before returning once more to Coral Beach. So he was at Coral Beach, consumed alcoholic beverages, went down to Peppers, consumed more, and came back to Coral Beach. It is evident from the CCTV capturing the defendant's return that he is very intoxicated, as he was extremely unsteady on his feet. Using the passageway between the kitchen and the bar, the defendant sought to re-enter the bar. On his way, he stumbled and he fell to the ground. There is no one immediately in the vicinity, and the defendant can be seen in the CCTV footage lying on the ground for some time. At one stage, a male member of staff approached him and appeared to attempt to render assistance, but then left, having been unsuccessful. Sometime later, the complainant, and they name her, but we'll just say the victim, came to the scene and discovered the defendant lying on the ground. She spent some considerable time at his side trying to get him to his feet so that he may leave. When she was unable to do so, she tried to contact Mr. Parchment, a member of the management team, to apprise him of the situation and seek his assistance in removing the defendant from the premises. At one point, the defendant managed to get to his feet. In an unprovoked attack, the defendant proceeded to pull Miss So-and-so by the hair and hit her to the head. I am satisfied that this was captured on the CCTV at 7:54:36 to 7:54:48. During that same attack, the victim's phone became lodged from her hand and was thrown against the wall. The defendant then staggered to his feet for a short distance before falling to the ground once more, and she continued her efforts to assist the defendant to no avail. Eventually, the defendant was able to right himself, in other words, stand up. The defendant and victim got into a verbal altercation, after which the defendant turned and walked in the direction of the kitchen. The victim and another member of staff followed him. The victim was still trying to contact Mr. Parchment by phone. The defendant grabbed a bus tub container, which is a tub used by kitchen staff to carry dishes, from a trolley outside the kitchen. He threw the container at her direction, at her head, and she used her right arm, we saw that, to deflect and prevent the container striking her head. She then shouted at the defendant. The defendant then grabbed a second bus tub and threw it at her in her direction again. This one missed her. We saw that. The defendant then entered the kitchen, followed by the manager, who was still using her phone to try to contact Mr. Parchment. The defendant attempted to grab the phone from her, which she tried to prevent. A struggle ensued, and during this violent struggle, the defendant repeatedly pulled at her and her phone, and at one stage, he had his right arm wrapped around her neck. Other members of staff intervened and pulled the defendant off of the victim. The defendant was then escorted off the premise. Throughout the incident, the defendant was verbally abusive or offensive, swearing at her. Now, listen very, very carefully. He now claims, listen to what he said to Oric Connor. I'm going to replay the video again. Because if you cannot hold people accountable, right, for their lies that they tell, what are you going to do?
There were people because, of course, I was wrongly accused that I beat up somebody when the video shows two women beating McKeeva.
Right.
For $180,000 that Caymanians didn't get, and that Cubans didn't get, and that Hondurans and Santo Domingans didn't get. $180,000. They called on me to come and settle it. I was the elected member, they knew. And I went there and I was not welcome. I was never welcome. But my son was part owner of the business.
Right.
So I had a right. And so I got tired with it because I confess I grabbed her to grab my phone, which got mashed up.
Yeah.
I got the worst of it.
So that's a lie. It wasn't his phone that he was trying to grab. He was trying to grab her phone to prevent her from contacting Richard Parchment to come and deal with Mr. Bush. It wasn't his phone. In fact, he had to compensate her. When you continue to read the case, Jamila says, no language, the kids are listening. Lord Jesus, y'all make your kids listen. The facts are that he had to reimburse her for her own phone because he mashed up the one phone. Point number 5, the victim impact, right? Physically, she suffered a number of injuries, including bruising, tenderness, and a superficial abrasion to her right arm, bruising to her neck, and bruising to both legs, as well as a loss of sensation in her left leg. Photographs were provided to the court, as well as the medical records. She had to receive medical treatment and had incurred medical costs for which she seeks reimbursement. She talks about how she was psychologically affected. In the first few days after the incident, she was fearful of going out in public, as she was concerned that people might seek to intimidate her into remaining silent about the events of that night. Her fears were escalated when she was named in the defendant's public apology some days later, and then dissuaded her from leaving her home for the first month. I don't know if you guys remember that. I'm trying to actually find his apology. But yes, he purposely named her. And this is where, oh Lord, can somebody help me find his apology letter? I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. But you see, this is a psychological game that narcissists play, right? If he was any kind of a righted person, as Caymanians would say, okay? He would have just apologized and take full accountability. What he did was he purposely named her. Why would you, knowing the position that he has in this community, in this country, right? Apologize to the victim on the one hand, but turn around and name her. You know why he did that? It's called intimidation. Let me go back. This is December of 2020, right? So he was trying to intimidate her. And of course it worked. The woman didn't leave her house for a whole month. She was scared to death. That's what he does. All right, let me see. The assault was February. Hold on, let me go back. It was February of 2020. All right, let me see if I can find it. All right. So he took a leave of absence. Miller was calling for his resignation. Oh, here we go. Here's the article. February the 24th. Bush blames bar attack on daughter's death 9 years on. So here he was trying to blame the fact that his poor daughter, and I knew Tanya, may she rest in peace, that she was the reason 9 years on that he's out in the streets beating up women and acting like a proper fool. Here we go. This is the article. Okay. And in his apology letter to the victim, his full statement is here. He decided to actually name the victim. Oh, page not found. I don't know. I guess he took it down from, I'll have to see if I can find this. All right. But anyway, he had issued a statement and then he took it down. Again, his initial response is he claimed he doesn't remember. He's going to apologize. He does not recall the events of that evening, and he's relying on information from others that he was confused and disoriented. Sir, it's called drunk. Let's not mince our words here. It's not confused and disoriented. It's called you were drunk. He blames the incident on not properly dealing with the loss of his daughter, who died tragically 9 years ago, and also on the loss of his mother. And I don't even know when the woman died. That might have been 20 years ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. Juliana Castro says, come on, Auntie Sandy. The man already went to court for this. No. And never got convicted. Are you for real? Actually, he did get convicted. Well, what planet are you on, Juliana? He pled guilty, and I have the sentencing documents right here. Okay. And he was sentenced, and he has a criminal record because of it. What do you mean he never got convicted? So I can't even read the rest of what you said. I must give him a rasclot. Leave Uncle Mac alone? You can't even get your facts correct about what transpired. How do y'all live every day with this level of denial? And the reason why it's relevant now, Juliana, is because just last week he got on the radio, for the record, and denied, as I just played, that this ever happened. Denied it, said he was being attacked by several women. Come on. See what his defense was at the time? Explain that his alcohol abuse at point 9 was a way of coping with the grief of the untimely death of his daughter in 2011. Claims that on the day of the offense, he had been to visit her grave as well as his mother's grave, so he claims. And that left him emotional. And in his emotional state, the defendant began to consume alcohol. What a liar. It is evident from his behavior and loss of memory that the defendant has consumed a considerable quantity of alcohol. A report from his counselor confirms that the defendant underwent grief counseling and is now better placed to deal with the loss of his daughter, so he claims. He claims that he ceased all alcohol consumption, that he meant no harm to the victim, but accepts that his actions were reckless and caused her injury. Through his public statement and his guilty pleas, the defendant has admitted publicly to his wrongdoing and has expressed remorse for his actions. So, to be clear, this man assaulted this woman. It was unprovoked. It was a vicious assault that left this woman bruised and battered. You don't get to ignore this type of behavior time and time again, and now sit down on Radio Cayman and claim that you were the victim. Juliana, let me ask you a question. I stand before you today, and I can honestly say that no man in his, since high school, one guy tried in high school, and I literally kicked his behind, okay? But as an adult, no man has ever put his hands on me. Praise the Lord for that, because it wouldn't end well. But for every victim out there who has been a victim of workplace violence, domestic violence, men thinking that they can beat you up, they can throw you around a kitchen, they can grab you by the neck so much so that they leave bruise marks on your neck. They can throw not one, but 2 tubs at you, one aimed directly at your head. And if she didn't deflect it with her hand, it would have hit her in the head. I want you to talk to those victims today. And talk about how many second chances are we prepared to give the likes of McKeeva Bush. And he doesn't stop. This man was at the Ritz-Carlton. You acting like this is ancient history. If this was ancient history and the man had actually changed his ways, I would not be sitting here today having this conversation. This is a man that does not stop. And every time he gets back into power, his level of narcissism peaks. And that's where he is now. That's why he has the audacity to talk about he's forming an NPO and he wants people to donate money for that. That's why he's attacking Sabrina Turner. That's why he's attacking Heather Bodden. I don't know what he did to Kathy, but she's in the mix as well because she doesn't agree with his position on the NCC. And she's refusing to bring the legislation to tear down the National Conservation Act. So he goes into attack mode. That is why he wants to be able to message me thinking that somehow me and him on the same level and I'm his companion. And he can make threats to me. You're not going to do it, Bobo. You might try, but there'll be consequences for doing so. Okay? The people in this country have to stand up with and for every single victim. At the Ritz-Carlton, this man is sucking on people's necks, touching people inappropriately, puts a hickey on the neck of a manager in the civil service. He has no concept of boundaries whatsoever. And we must give him a rest? A rest for what? When he refuses to do better. All of this sits squarely on his shoulders, you know? Nobody has an axe to grind with McKeeva Bush but himself. He grinds himself. He messes himself up. Time and time again. It's like he cannot help himself. And what I'm saying to the people of this country is at some point, you guys have got to hold him accountable. And it's not just one thing. Someone sent me footage today of him threatening during the last election, Mario Ebanks' opponent. Listen to this.
Before when I was doing it, I was wasting and giving away the people's money. Mario Ebanks put that circle around his forehead.
What does he mean by that, about putting a circle on his forehead? He's a target, right? This matter, I understand, was actually reported to the police. At what point do y'all stop defending this man? When is enough enough? It was enough when he stole your money, you little old ladies, in the first Cayman Bank fiasco. Remember that? 1997, I had just returned to Cayman. That was one of the first times I heard about McKeeva Bush. Cayman First Bank. Right? He was the overseeing director. The bank had to file for bankruptcy in 1997. You guys, over 3,000 local accounts lost money after it was shut down by SEMA. You got pennies on the dollar. Because of interference from the likes of McKeeva Bush. Poor decisions, poor mismanagement. A lot of your grannies and your mothers went bankrupt after that bank went under. And y'all still sit down and want to defend foolishness. Look at the political upheaval over the years. Everything. From getting arrested, first premier of the country got arrested. Julie cut him at the throat. She took it from him. He cut Kurt Tibbetts at the throat, claiming that, he's sitting down at the bar all day. Ironic. Overthrowing governments, destabilizing governments. I mean, this man has done so much in so many different facets of his life. When you say to me, just give him a break, I'm like, something gotta be wrong with you. You cannot be serious. And this is the best that we can get out of West Bay. West Bayers, please. As one of you, I'm telling you, I am owning my West Bay heritage. As one of you, we have got to do better than this. We cannot continue to allow this tyrant to get into political office. Cayman First, what is it called? First Cayman Bank, sorry. We've got to stop. This person says, this is so sad. I'm so very disappointed to know that we, the people, have continued to allow this kind of behavior to continue. People make mistakes, yes, but after 40 years of leadership, and we can put that in quotes, of being a lawmaker, of being a husband, a father, a member of the church, a member of the business community, if you continue to behave like this even now, as was recently alleged by 4 members of our parliament, it means that you've never been held accountable and you feel that you are above the law. There's no question that the so-called Honorable W. McKeeva Bush is choosing to behave like this. He should bear the brunt of the consequences of his actions for every day that he breathes God's good air from this day forth. How can anyone look to this man and see him as an example of something good? As Caymanians, McKeeva, and everyone who does not hold and has not held him are more of a disgrace than him. Held him accountable, I think. I'm to the point in my life where I wouldn't even waste my spit on this man. That's how little I respect him. I wouldn't even spit on him if he was kneeling at my feet begging for forgiveness. That's one of his victims. You see, this man has a long line of victims. Unbelievable. So it's sad. Yeah, so someone mentioned, the reference to Martin Roper. Apparently he has prostate cancer. And it's funny, funny being ironic is what I mean, not funny as in haha, that McKeeva Bush is now saying, oh, God is paying you back. Well, my question to you, I mean, I don't know what God McKeeva is trying to serve, but my question to you is what do you think your punishment will be from God? You think that God is going to ignore your behavior? I'm just curious as to what you think the position is going to be. Everyone should be held accountable, even me, for the things that you do in your bad behavior, right? Nobody's perfect. God knows we've all made mistakes in our lives. I don't call it a mistake. We've made poor decisions. That's a better choice of words, right? But someone who is incapable of learning and incapable of doing any better, as that victim said, it has to be that he just doesn't care. He doesn't want to do any better. And this is where the narcissistic personality disorder comes in, because you truly do believe that you are above the law, right? Here he is again, after all of the things that he has done. He is practically the premier of this country. Y'all heard what Sabrina Turner said. He sits in caucus and he is acting like he is running the show. He's disrespecting people in there. He's disrespecting her. He's disrespecting others. And our esteemed leader, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, for all of her so-called Christian ways, is going to sit there and say nothing and do nothing. I'm not surprised by that, because she was one of the women after this assault who sat back and has never spoken up, has never said anything. You know how that makes me feel as a woman? Listen, I sit here all the time and I defend victims and their right to be able to have their stories told. I report on these stories. You guys need to hear how people, women, children are victimized in this community. Right? Not because I'm a victim myself and somehow it is going to directly impact me, but it does. It impacts all of us in this community when we allow the leaders of this country to treat women poorly, to disrespect women, to sexually harass women, to abuse women physically, to abuse them emotionally, to yell and scream at them and degrade them in public settings, in private settings, at the beach bar, in parliament, in caucus. It doesn't matter. I have a daughter. You think I want my daughter growing up in a world where she can sit in caucus and have the likes of McKeeva Bush sitting across the table from her and disrespect her, and not a single person, nobody's going to speak up and said, Mac, you've gone too far. Stop it. It's enough. We're going to hold you accountable. One thing I know for sure is if Wayne Panton was there, he wouldn't be doing it. That I feel confident in saying, right? Because he's the only person who's ever held him accountable. You know what McKeeva Bush does? You want to feel sorry for him? Let me tell you the type of person he is. When these women at the Ritz-Carlton were talking about what he had done to them, he starts going around trying to lambast their, this one having marital problems and this one and that one and da-da-da, trying to make the victims out to be horrible persons. That's what he does. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Not too bad, dear. How are you?
Well, you sound hot this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it too hard. They get the heart and how hard that goes. But anyhow,
Lauren, no sir.
I'm not taking this side. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I know not because I know they got some of it there, and because it's McKeeva. But I would like to ask Miss Sabrina and the other people. But Sabrina was the main one that got out and said that McKeeva was disrespecting her and whatever. Can Miss Sabrina enlighten the public, because there was also videos showed of when these meetings were held in the River Sandwich. Can she tell us at what time did this behavior that McKeeva was carrying on took place? Because, I mean, as I say, I'm not taking up in this side, but it is very strange. And whatever her reasons were to come to the house, that's her. That's her rights. I don't give her rights. I'm not giving her no wrong. If it was something that she should have stopped for, she shouldn't have walked out. Yes, I would say that much. But if she wanted to walk out, maybe she didn't feel strong enough to stand there and whatever. That's her political right. But I would like her to highlight the public. Where did this take place, and when did this take place? That the other people in Parliament were seeing all this behavior going on, and nobody said nothing. Because up until Thursday, before she walked in the house, not a soul. I never heard as many times as Sabrina met in the house that Sabrina ever did say that McKeeva was misbehaving in the way. I mean, I don't know if it was me. I can tell you when the show out about that like long time ago.
Well, she actually addressed it. She actually addressed it when she was on. So I'm going to invite you. I don't know if you didn't hear the full show when she was on Monday, but if you go back and listen to the show, you'll actually hear what she said about it. And in fact, what she said is that it started basically November of last year when they got rid of Wayne Panton and this new government got in. Basically, this premier allowed him to come into caucus and gave him a parliamentary secretary position, and he was permitted to do whatever he wanted to do. And so the behavior, it sounds like, based on how she described it, has been escalating.
What I'm saying, from November, that's a whole year now, from November last year to now, she is now just telling this story that this has been happening. Why she didn't bring that to the public long ago? Remember, like you said, the public, public got very convenient.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question that will put that will help you to understand this, right? Have you never been in a situation where you have allowed someone to mistreat you over a period of time and you did nothing about it until one day you finally had enough?
Well, I wouldn't tell the God's truth. Not too many people that got. For instance, I had a boss at Passman. For our Passman, where I worked for 17 years. Another 17, we had the boss for there for 5 years, and he came in as a racist. And I put him in his tracks from the first week because he told out the flares at me. He made a comment that we were closing up the door. We were ready to go home. He didn't tell us anything about no meeting until we were ready to leave. And he passed the joke and he said he needed to have a meeting right away. And when you go, I said, well, we stopped because we were ready to go home. We said, what's the meeting? He said, he said he needed grand relief because he had already picked up me a couple more times before that. And then he was caught up. And he said to me, he needed grand relief to clean my shoes. And I stopped him right in his track and I said, listen here to me. Right across the street, there was right by the courthouse, which you don't know nothing about, or he don't know nothing about it. I mean, Tim didn't know anything about it. I said there was a lady there used to have sell food on the tree. She had a son that due to the certain of bigger age, employees are no longer permitted to kiss the boss ass. So I made him know clean and straight that he was targeting the wrong person. I don't know who else is gonna put up with that. And I brought it to my manager, Bernard Passman himself about it, and he reprimanded him about it because he told him that kind of behavior he had not established that kind of business. But if I had allowed him to target, the last me, do you think people would have believed me? People can say that you need to put up all that words and you wouldn't say nothing good to nobody.
No, I mean, I think people would have believed you because we can all relate. I mean, you only can think of one situation, but I'm sure we can all relate to being in a situation where someone was doing something to you and they were mistreating you and you didn't do anything about it for some time.
But what I'm saying,
you allowed it to build up.
But what I'm saying, this is in the legislative assembly where
no, it's not. It's not the legislative assembly. She said it's in caucus.
Oh, in caucus is
right.
Oh, I understood her.
No,
maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. If you actually go back to the show and you hear what she actually said, she does answer this question. So maybe that's a good starting point, is just to re-listen to Monday's show. But she said, because at one point I thought it was in cabinet. She said no, she never saw him sitting in cabinet, but this was in caucus because he's a parliamentary secretary. And so apparently this is, part and parcel of what he was doing, being disrespectful to them in caucus and, feeling like he can say anything to them and talk to them any kind of way simply because they did not agree with some of the positions that he had. And she mentioned some of the things. She talked about immigration, the environment, and other things, including Poinciana Point, that were points of contention.
Okay.
Yeah? All right, my dear.
That can clear the air for me.
Yeah,
because
no
I
problem.
was saying that if all these behaviors take place, that where we have recordings in the assembly building and nobody else, I'm sure that the public should have heard it because we heard plenty of arguments back and forth from everybody. But we've never heard Sabrina. But why didn't Sabrina bring that up in the House of Parliament when she had the floor for herself? That was where she was supposed to make everybody.
Well, like I said, you have all sorts of personalities there. Obviously, she was, I guess, trying her best to just focus and do her job. And, you can only take disrespect for so long. Some people would allow it to go on for years. I know some people who sit in situations and let it go on a lot longer than that.
No, okay.
So, I mean, everybody's different. Like I said, I'm not a person who takes too kindly to disrespect, especially what I consider the workplace, which is what this is. But also, I've never been an elected official. I've never been an MP. So I don't know the pressures as you sit there trying to get stuff done. I guess it's a very different kind of situation as well, right?
But disrespect is disrespect.
I agree. And the first thing that they're going to want to say this is why.
If you don't earn it, then I guess, that's where they get over.
Well, this is why a lot of times when you're in public office, right? A lot of times you'll have these guys say, "Oh, well, we don't want women in here, because they're too emotive and they can't take it." Yeah, we got curse and whatever, and that's just how we are. But women can't handle it. That's one of the excuses that they use against women all the time. Like, "Oh, you taking it too personal." And it wasn't meant to be personal. This is just how we talk. So, I think if you're a woman, you've ever been around a lot of men and you've been in a professional environment and sometimes not so professional environment, you understand and how they come at you. And it can be very, very different. They say you're swimming with the sharks, right? And you can't be emotional. You can't show that you're upset or that something offends you, because then it's like, oh no, that's a problem.
The Cayman government sent out a sexual or harassment bill.
Well, we can't get that passed because of McKeeva Bush. He don't want it passed.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know.
Well, I'm telling you that he don't want it passed.
Every government office has their.
There is no sexual harassment legislation in Cayman. It has not been passed. And it's one of the things that Wayne Panton has been working on for the last couple of years. We were hopeful that Kathy Wilkes would have brought it, but apparently one of the reasons why they can't bring it is McKeeva Bush won't agree.
Oh, well, but McKeeva Bush is the only one though. How can they make McKeeva
But you
Bush?
you understand what I'm saying? He not only won when he has Juliana O'Connor Connolly and others sitting there allowing it to happen. So I agree with you that they are a bigger problem than him.
You can't blame it all on McKeeva Bush.
I'm not. Have you not heard me say that Juliana O'Connor Connolly needs to be held responsible, as well as all the other men who have sat there? Yeah. Now, Andre has stepped up and said enough is enough as well. Kathy has stepped up and said enough is enough. Now, you're West Bay. You know Andre. You actually think that Andre would be siding with Sabrina or Kathy or whatever if he didn't really understand the magnitude of the disrespect that had been shown there in caucus?
No. I hope that as a man he would stand his ground. But isn't that why Andre stepped down because of their behavior with McKeeva against them, or Andre has another?
Well, they all issued a collective statement together, and they talked about a number of different things. They talked about the lack of courage to consider the proposed sexual harassment bill. So that was one of the specific things. Talked about resistance to reasonable and objective discussions on the escalating costs of the new Cayman Brac High School. Talked about the lack of urgency in dealing with beach erosion. Talked about, whether to amend the National Conservation Act. Talked about the lack of transparency in major financial decisions such as the Regen project. So they listed those things. And what has happened, I mean, it is interesting that he is the only man standing amongst 3 women. How many women we got in Parliament?
4.
Right.
4 or 5.
And 3 of them have left and resigned under the leadership of another woman and McKeeva Bush. Make that sink in for a minute. That says volumes.
Yeah, I understand what you said. I agree with you to an extent, but I'm not taking no side in McKeeva Bush because if he's wrong, he's wrong. And me personally tell him, yeah, he's wrong. Many times me and him have caught up or political difference and whatever. Yeah. But that's besides the point. But
and I mean, let's be honest, right? You like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, we're all human beings. We're all subject to sometimes making poor decisions and whatever. But why is it that this is the kind of thing that always trailing McKeeva Bush? Do you really at some point ask yourself, either he's got the worst luck of anybody I've ever met in my entire life, or there's really something to his lack of disrespect for women? Think about it. You know of anybody else who always getting caught up? Any other MP? Even some of them, we say, yep, they're fornicating, they're cheating with this one, doing that, whatever. But this man has a long history of egregious behavior, time and time again.
McKeeva was the only one that came to the forefront, but I can tell you what it's sure.
No. That's not true.
Very carefully. Listen.
That's not true. Have we not talked about John? And what he did with his ex-wife and how he lied and went to the hotel and try and get her out, and him and the man scuffle and beat up and this and that. So McKeeva is not the only one. We've talked about Alden McLaughlin and his behavior. The difference is McKeeva can't stop. He's consistent with it. He's prolific with it. I can't think of anybody else who's as prolific as McKeeva Bush. And I challenge anybody to call in. Let's talk about it. I'm not targeting McKeeva Bush, and I'm not currying favors with nobody. What I'm saying is his history speaks for itself, his disrespect for women. And you and I both know that there is a lot of things that have never come to the court, that has never gotten that far, but yet the victims are out there talking in our communities.
Well, if they wanted to put a stop to it, they shouldn't hide behind to go with it and just shoot. Maybe we need to bring it to the forefront so that it can be, because I can say that he did this and you can say he did this, but people might say, oh, well, you know.
Oh, yes. And somebody also reminded me about the woman in the casino in Florida. Let's not forget about that one. A foreigner in another country. Which other member of parliament, right, has gone overseas and embarrassed us as much as McKeeva Bush has? Nobody else.
Nobody else. But like again,
we better leave it there, honey child. Leave it with nobody else.
Okay.
All right, my dear. I mean, like I said, his record, I had that on my list to speak about it today as well. His record speaks volumes. He's prolific, right? So here's the thing, right? Again, we broke that story as well about him getting arrested. Y'all needed to see the headlines in relation to that. We got a problem, folks. And the only people that can fix this problem is the voters in West Bay West. Now, I don't know who's planning on running against McKeeva Bush. I have no idea. What I would say is, as long as he remains a player on the chessboard, he has enough political wherewithal and knows enough tricks that he's always going to be relevant. Nobody can form a government, I would say, without McKeeva Bush being in the mix. He gets that. He understands that. And I think anybody with sense understands that as well. Remember this picture? I got to pull out a picture from a blast from the past, 2017. He almost didn't make it into government. And then at the last minute, kaboom! Remember that world famous picture in front of the government building? Right? Oh yeah, they form a government, McKeeva Bush not in it. And then next thing you know, kaboom! There he is. He knows how to play the game well. And the only way to neutralize him is not to elect him to elected office. That's the only way. Otherwise, he's always going to be there. He's always going to be a thorn in his side. The power goes to his head. It allows him to, have this strong hold on the people of this country. The narcissism continues. The recreating history continues. Right? This victim says that woman's example is not the same. Sabrina and her MPs have to go through the process. She's an ignorant woman, and that's dangerous. We did bring it to the forefront. There is proof. And then people don't believe or support the victims. Victims are listening to this show this morning, and they're shaking their head like, what the heck? Right? There has just been so many instances of things with this man. I was trying to put together a list. Let me try and see if I can find any more. Of all of the hot mess and situations that he's been in. I showed you guys this. Alden McLaughlin has sued him twice. Huh? Now he won't defend him. Talking about him and Alden are friends and this, that, and next thing. Okay. Well, I know one thing. He sure was suing you enough times. Twice in the same year, in fact. Let me see what else we got here. And I'm not saying that the man has zero redeeming qualities or he hasn't done something in the last, 40 years, to be clear. Right? There were the criminal charges with the misuse of the credit card. He got off on that. That was over $33,000 in credit card usage at a casino in the Bahamas. Remember, I told you guys 2010. He's a gambler. All right. He was arrested, and then he had a vote of no confidence in 2012. The mass status grants. Now he's talking about, these people who come here, they must assimilate or get out. Was he thinking about that in 2013 when he gave away these mass status grants to people who had not been here? Some of them are criminals, child molesters, and all kind of stuff. Had not been here for any amount of time, had not demonstrated, certainly, that they were assimilating in any way, shape, or form. And yet, now he wants us to forget. The one single worst thing that has happened to this country from an immigration perspective in the last 25 to 30 years were those mass status grants. Because every single one of those people who got status turned around and opened up businesses, running all kind of scams. I shouldn't say every single one of them, because there might have been a couple in there that were deserving of the process, but people who were deserving of the process went through the proper channels. They didn't need cabinet to give it to them. And he did that. And remember, who challenged him at the time? Who put the money forward to allow the people to challenge that? None other than Wayne Panton. He's had every single ministerial position in this country. Minister of Tourism and Environment and Transport. Minister of the Environment, Development, Commerce. Health Minister, that was his first one, 1992 to 1994. Community Development, Sports, Women and Youth Affairs and Culture, 1994 to 1997. He was the first premier of the Cayman Islands, Finance Minister. Tourism and Development from 2009 to 2012. Longest serving member, has been representing the West Bay constituency since 1984. Okay? Face more criminal charges than any other elected member. The only elected member to be convicted of an offense. I'm just saying, at what point groping a female employee back in 2017, that disappeared allegedly because money was exchanged. There's footage of that too. I mean, at what point do you go, damn, I can't really continue to defend this man, regardless of what good he may have done. He set up the co-op, what's it called again? The co-op back in, oh Lord, I'm trying to remember now. The co-op back in the tourism co-op or whatever. Ask yourself how well that's working. Didn't he have his sister running that? And the whole idea behind that was to give Caymanians a fair share of dealing with the cruise ships and stuff like that. That not working. I'm just saying. Like, really? At some point, you got to call a spade, and you got to say that, this is enough. This person says, where were the other witnesses in the case against the female civil servants at the Ritz-Carlton? You mean to tell me that there were no other witnesses in a room full of people? Who sent you the information? Because I recall that you said you weren't at the event, but yet someone could send you the information. Was it the women themselves that sent that to you? Or other witnesses? In fact, why didn't they call you, Sandra, to court? This person says he's a thug who has always thrown his weight around. He came into a bar I was managing back in 2004 at 12:55 a.m. with all of his henchmen demanding we serve them drinks. When I'd already called last call and was actually trying to get people out of the bar by 1 a.m., which was the law. I told him, I'm so sorry, but I can't serve you at this time of the night/morning. His response, what? Do you know who I am? Yes, Mr. Mack, I know exactly who you are, but the owner of this bar is off island. And if he personally wants to let you in here at this time, fine. But he's not here. And you and I both know the laws, and I'm not prepared to break them nor jeopardize my work permit. Listen to what this person says. This guy's a disrespectful bully. He incites fear into hospitality staff to the point that I still wish to remain anonymous, even with this message. You see? This is what people have been dealing with for years. All right. So, what a hot mess. So, today at, we're just starting to get some information on the relief efforts now for Little Cayman. There's some, hold on, this camera adjusted itself. There's some footage that has come in of of boats look like they got a little bit of damage, which is to be expected. There was obviously marine alerts and stuff out there. There's one or two that looks like they sunk, washed up on the beach, and about 50% of the poles appear to be down. I think Cayman Brac should be okay because I understand that a lot of them had power restored about 1 o'clock this morning. I don't even think we got much rain here in Grand Cayman because I didn't hear no rain last night when I was sleeping. So let me show you a few pictures here. West Bay West, do better. Do better. That's all I can tell you. So this is some of the footage that we're getting. No loss of life and no serious injuries being reported this morning. So of course we have to be very, very thankful for that. So it just looks like some of the boats, at least one boat sank, and then another one looks like it washed up on the beach. That's not too bad. Hopefully the power will be restored soon. Someone said he did the same thing at Paradise Bar in the early 2000s too. There was an event there and he came late and then told the owner to keep it open, saying something like, "You don't know who I am. I write the laws." Boy, when people are above the laws, honey child. Yeah. That's what it is. A lot of business owners and Cayman Brackers were there and shocked, but they didn't do anything. Yep. All right. Let me see. This person said Ms. Turner only came forward to defend herself from what he was saying on Radio Cayman. Would it have been more true if she brought it up prior? What a mess. So we'll get an idea from government. Obviously, school is out again today. We'll get an idea from government what the damage is on the sister islands. Seems to me that the $50 million that was there for the building of the school might now need to be utilized for helping Cayman Brac and Little Cayman in some recovery efforts. I'm just saying. Yesterday, I spent a bit of time, the morning show, we went through the what's it called? We went through the business case, which basically has demonstrated that there is no business case. If you have an opportunity, we did put up an article, Cayman Brac School Not Value for Money. It's quite a lengthy article. My apologies. Sometimes I'm a little bit long-winded. That's the writer. That's the English degree and the lawyer in me, not lawyer, but the law degree. Sometimes I get a little bit long-winded, and it is a very, very lengthy article. But I think it's worth reading because it did a critical analysis of supposedly the things that they're using to justify this Cayman Brac school, including the decline of they're claiming, oh yeah, we're projecting growth based on what? It's very vague and it makes no sense. I've mentioned the population and housing census report. Nothing supports the fact that Cayman Brac is going to have an explosion that is going to justify building what will eventually be $100 million school. It just doesn't make any sense. Jonathan says we need a natural election. Miss Bonnie, good morning. Says the status grants was a straw that broke the camel's back. Cayman has never been the same. Now we're the minority in our own country. Morning, Mr. George.
Good morning. You trick us, I gonna make the public know now. Listen, you went away, and you went and voted for Trump. And you didn't want us to know.
Lord Jesus.
You understand? And when you're talking about disrespect, look at how disrespectful he is to women.
Oh my God. I can't
What the women gonna do in the United States now with this abortion law? The doctors afraid to touch a woman. I don't know. Is it really true that he has already won? Is all the votes done counted?
Yeah, he won. I mean, unlike him, nobody's going to deny that he won and storm the Capitol and do all this kind of foolishness. So I think Vice President Kamala Harris was supposed to do a statement today as well, conceding the election. So, they won, and we got 4 years of him. I mean, I'm going to try to stay out of the U.S. as much as I possibly can, to be honest. But yeah.
I mean, I never thought that how disrespectful he was to women, Puerto Rico and everything, the Hispanic women, and they voted for him. Boy, I mean, I don't understand people.
Yeah.
He got some good ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's plans, I guess that's how the system works. So
no, boy, he's a consistent person. and when you're talking about disrespect, he disrespectful.
Yeah.
He disrespectful. But
rest assured, I was in South Africa. We flew through Atlanta, so I think I was in Atlanta for like 1 day coming back, basically. And God bless America. That's all I can say right now. Good luck to him.
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting 4 years.
Yeah, somebody like you would go up there and vote for him. You imagine?
Lord have mercy.
I'm
not an American citizen, and I have no right to any political anything in their country. Definitely not the right to vote. But good luck to him. What a hot mess. It's going to be a very, very interesting 4 years. He's made a lot of promises. Him and Elon Musk claiming that they can get rid of $2-3 trillion worth of debt, and economists have said that that's impossible. There's no way for him to do that unless they start cutting health and benefits and all sorts of stuff for the average person. But of course, him and his billionaire friends, they think they got it all figured out. So what can we do? Not our country. We'll wait and see, and the trickle-down effect will impact us. So all the Caymanians that are happy today and supported Trump. I saw a picture somebody sent me and I had to chuckle to myself. But you have a right to your opinion, and politically you have a right to support, I guess, whoever you want. So there you go. Gabby says, don't make any of these Mac fake supporters silence you, Sandy. This spouse to be about Mac. They're supposed to be about Mac. Let's be about Mac. Someone need to Mac his old take some accountability. Make Mac hold some accountability. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Ms. Bonnie says that Satis Grant was the straw that broke the camel's back. Cayman has never been the same. Now we're the minority in our own homeland. El Rey says caller, CMR 1, caller 0. And I see you guys, some of you messaging me saying, RMR says a lady called from West Bay is in a roundabout way trying to defend the indefensible. Thank you, Shaka, for the correction there. Yes, I meant lack of respect. And so some of you said, oh, hang up, whatever. No, listen, everybody has an opinion. I don't think she listened to the full show on Monday because she obviously didn't hear that this was not in Parliament. And Sabrina actually explained that what happened is once she started to disagree with Mr. Bush on a number of key things, that is when he started to show his true colors, because he cannot respect women. He has no respect for women. And as a woman, your place is barefoot and pregnant in his eyes, right? Being subjected to whatever he tells you. And so men like that, as a woman, you don't have a voice. You disagree with a man like that, they take real offense, and they take it very, very personally. And that is why he then goes into attack mode. That's why he's been messaging me, because he saw an article that he didn't like that CMR put up. I wasn't even the one who wrote the article. That's a joke about it, but whatever. It's my platform. And he's all up in his feelings. Well, I think he got all up in his feelings because the picture that was used was that of someone doing a billboard, remember, during the last election about him. it's now a stock photo in terms of politics when it comes to McKeeva Bush. Why is the man getting offended? Right? He has actually said to Sabrina Turner, go back and listen to the show, right? That if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get Ween Panton. So he has an axe to grind with Mr. Panton. Okay. And so he also made a statement last Friday about having connections with Westmoreland, Jamaica, and said something to the effect that he's making reference to Jamaican ties, and he's actually sending a message to remind all of the Jamaicans that got Cayman status grants during the giveaway that because of the grant, he controls who they vote for island-wide, and these recipients have a sense of obligation to him, Mac. So he's telling them, remember, if it wasn't for me giving you all status, you all wouldn't be in Cayman, so don't forget it and vote for who I tell you to vote for. He believes that he has that kind of power over the Jamaican community as well. So I guess he probably don't really know. All right, so going back to the business case for the school, if you get an opportunity to read the article, but I know most people don't like to read. And so one of the things that I want to do more of, and especially going into the political season, I think it's important. And it's something that I've been encouraging you guys all the time. It's easy to call in a talk show and give a little soundbite. It's much more challenging and difficult for you to go away and do a little bit of homework, read, research, and then put your opinion together. It's not easy. And I want media, talk shows to move to like the next stage of community engagement in this country. Media is powerful. Talk shows can be powerful, right? They can be engaging. We can galvanize people for change and for the betterment of our country. We can educate people. Like the platform can be used for so many amazing things. And one of the things I would love for you guys to do, and it's kind of easy in a way, then it's not easy on the other side. I get it. Is sit down and do a video editorial. I feel like there should be a better word for that, but it's like a vlog, but it's like an editorial, right? And you just sit down, you can do it with your phone. Have somebody just hold the phone. In 5 minutes, tell me your position on this. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts? But before you can do that, you need to think. You need to maybe do a little bit of research, put pen to paper, right? Why do you feel the way that you feel about healthcare, about education, about all these issues? What are the most pressing issues in this country? I would love to engage with all of you to do more of that. And then we share that collectively amongst each other. It's like we have a bit of a think tank going in our community because collectively we can find solutions for a lot of the problems that we're facing as a country. So I did one yesterday, and sometimes I don't feel like being in front of the camera, you know? So I just did it with like a little overlay, and then I did the audio. So I wrote out what I wanted to say, and then, so I'm going to play that now for you guys. And it's in relation to, and then I'll share it as a separate thing where you can just listen to it separately on social as well. But it is in relation to the BRAC school. I feel very, very passionate that we are doing the wrong thing when it comes to the spend and this project. And so it got me to thinking about why is the Premier, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, even pushing for this? So sit back and listen to this editorial, and that's how I'm going to end the show today. We're going to keep abreast of what is happening in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. We should have some additional information, I think, in the next couple of hours. I think the company there, what's it called? Island Energy. that is responsible. They're doing their best to, get whatever infrastructure, poles and whatever else that needs to happen so that they can quickly restore power to the BRAC and Little Cayman as well. So this editorial is called Build It and They Will Come, big question mark, right?
Raise your voice if it's not fair. Every time, everywhere. Be a hero, show the world you care. Show the world we care.
This is a CMR opinion piece. The Mirage of Build It and They Will Come. Lessons from California City to Cayman BRAC. The Cayman BRAC High School project takes on additional significance when viewed through the lens of political legacy building. After 3 decades in political office, Minister and now Premier Juliana O'Connor Connolly's push for this ambitious project raises questions about the true motivations behind its scope and timing. While the existing Layman E. Scott Senior High School, built in 1967, undoubtedly needs updating, the scale of the proposed replacement demands scrutiny. The numbers tell a revealing story. A 59-acre campus designed for 200 students and 40 staff members. This represents an extraordinary amount of space per student, far exceeding typical educational facility standards. The question must be asked, is this project sized for the actual needs of Cayman BRAC's student population, or is it sized for someone's legacy? The irony of this grandiose project becomes apparent when examining the broader context of educational progress in the Cayman Islands over the past 8 years under Minister O'Connor Connolly's leadership. While the proposed school promises state-of-the-art facilities, fundamental educational challenges across the islands remain inadequately addressed, such as systemic issues in educational outcomes. Teacher recruitment and retention, especially of Caymanians, continues to challenge all schools. Core curriculum development has seen limited innovation, and educational inequality between islands remains a major concern as well. This pattern suggests a preference for visible, concrete monuments over the less tangible but more crucial work of systemic educational reform. It's far easier to point to a building as evidence of leadership than to demonstrate improved literacy rates or better student outcomes. The timeline of this project is telling. First mentioned in August of 2022 and receiving planning approval in December of 2023. This project appears to be racing towards completion as a capstone to a long political career. While leaving a positive legacy is a natural political ambition, it shouldn't come at the expense of practical considerations or fiscal responsibility. The accelerated timeline and ambitious scope raise and flags similar concerns to those in the now famous California city. It's a rush planning process, potentially unrealistic scale, a focus on physical infrastructure over pragmatic needs, insufficient attention to long-term sustainability. Instead of monument building, educational leadership should focus on implementing evidence-based educational reforms, addressing current system-wide challenges, developing sustainable, scalable solutions, and building capacity within existing institutions. The desire to leave a lasting legacy is understandable, but true educational legacy is measured in student success, not square footage. Rather than following California City's path of ambitious but ultimately hollow development, Cayman BRAC needs right-sized, sustainable solutions that prioritize educational outcomes over architectural statements. As stakeholders and taxpayers here in the Cayman Islands, every single Caymanian should consider this project and ask themselves, does Cayman BRAC need a monument to political legacy, or does it need practical, effective educational solutions? The lessons of California City suggest that when personal ambition drives public development, the community often pays the price long after the groundbreaking ceremony is forgotten. In the annals of ambitious development projects, there's a recurring pattern that serves as a cautionary tale. The seductive belief that mere construction will inevitably attract prosperity and results. This build it and they will come philosophy has led to numerous projects where grand visions collide harshly with reality. Two such examples, separated by decades and geography, are united in their cautionary lessons: the California City and the Cayman Brac School Project. California City stands as perhaps the most striking example of unfulfilled development ambitions in American history. Conceived in the 1950s by real estate developer Nat Mendelsohn, the project envisioned a metropolis to rival Los Angeles. The master plan included a vast network of roads carved into the Mojave Desert, with spaces designed for homes, businesses, and parks. The infrastructure was laid out meticulously. Roads were paved, lots were parceled, and street signs were erected. But today, California City tells a different story. Most of the 203 square miles remains empty, with paved roads leading nowhere, forming a ghost grid visible from space. The population hovers around 15,000, a far cry from the millions once dreamed of. The desert winds still blow across vacant lots where shopping centers and bustling neighborhoods were meant to stand. The ambitious school project in Cayman Brac shows alarming parallels to California City's story. Like its California counterpart, the project appears to be built on optimistic projections rather than rigorous demographic analysis. The scale of the school project seems disconnected from the island's actual population and growth trends, much like how California City's planners overestimated future population growth. Both projects suffer from what psychologists call the planning fallacy, the tendency to underestimate the time, cost, and risk involved in future actions. This cognitive bias leads planners to overlook local constraints, so California City's harsh desert environment and Cayman Brac's limited population, dismiss historical precedents of similar field projects, and assume best-case scenario for growth and development, as well as underestimate the complexity of creating sustainable communities. The consequences of such oversized projects extend beyond the immediate financial impact. Environmental disruption, both projects involve significant modification of the natural landscape. There's going to be a lot of resource misallocation. So funds are going to be tied up in oversized projects that could have been used for other pressing community needs. And of course, there's a maintenance burden for the oversized infrastructure requirements, maintaining them regardless of the usage level. And then there's the community impact. Failed grand projects can demoralize communities and erode trust in future development initiatives. The solution isn't to abandon ambitious projects entirely, but to ground them in reality. As Cayman Brac proceeds with its school project, the empty streets of California City serves as a reminder that build it and they will come is not a development strategy. It is a recipe for costly disappointment. The true measure of development success lies not in the grandeur of its vision, but in the ability to serve and sustain the community it's meant to benefit.
Raise your voice if it's not fair. Every time, everywhere. Be a hero, show the world you care. Show the world we care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.